Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the August 10th meeting of the Chattanooga-Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission. My name is Chris Anderson, the Vice Chair serving as interim chair. This morning, we're going to have a special treat. We're going to hear from both our mayors. So with an announcement, here is County Mayor Weston Wamp, followed by Chattanooga Mayor Tim Kelly.
All right. Well, we're going to be brief. I don't think we have a real formal presentation, but I'll say this to get to ultimately my introduction of our new chairman. When the county announced several months ago our intentions to create a county planning department, that was mischaracterized in some circles as being a move to separate the city and county and to walk away from decades of cooperation and collaboration. To those who are closer to our decision-making process, there were many who wanted to blow up this regional planning commission. We saw an alternative. We believe this regional planning commission has served this community extremely well. And the compromise that we struck with many of the folks who wanted this planning commission to go away was that we would begin doing planning on our own and that we would begin to look at a more diverse cohort of folks to represent the county on the Regional Planning Commission. But today's a day where I think we all are here together to celebrate new leadership and a future and even a new location of the Regional Planning Commission. With that said, for those who don't know, the Regional Planning Commission chair has been, by the bylaws, selected to 4-year terms through a co-appointment of the city and county mayor. What that means is that Mayor Kelly and I have not had the opportunity to do this together until now. The previous chairman was reappointed by Mayor Coppinger and Mayor Kelly. Without a question, the issues that stir the most concerns and emotions in our community are issues of growth and infrastructure. It's actually quite shocking to me how growth and infrastructure concerns now dwarf crime and education and other issues in the minds of our people. And that's true in the city of Chattanooga. As far as I can tell, it's certainly true in the unincorporated parts of the county. And so when we thought about the future of this regional planning commission and the type of leadership that it needed, we recognized that growth has gotten ahead of infrastructure in many parts of the county. It has gotten ahead of road infrastructure. It has also gotten out ahead of proper planning from a school infrastructure standpoint. We thought somebody with a great familiarity with our public school system would be helpful. More than anything, these planning discussions require a sort of decorum and respect for all of you, the citizenry who want to participate. We have a whole lot in common. Those of us who live in the small towns of Hamilton County have a lot of interest in the city. Those who live in unincorporated parts of the county share interest with the city. The city, in many ways, relies on the unincorporated areas for recreation and for other aspects of our quality of life. We are very much in the planning of this community together, and it's a very tall ask to ask of any member of our community that they would serve on a planning commission that often consumes the entirety of the afternoon one Monday a month. And all of the planning commissioners here are, in my opinion, the most thankless public servants. There's a lot of people who probably vie for this distinction, but they and school board members are probably in a close running for the most thankless positions in public service. They give it a ton of time. So the first thing is finding somebody who's willing, finding somebody who has a track record of running meetings, familiar with Robert's Rules of Order, has the respect of people in our community. And the last thing, and this is important just in transparency, it is the perception of many people in this community, and probably many of you here, that the construction industry has too great an influence on the happenings and the decisions or recommendations, I should say, of this planning commission. Whether or not that is true, that is a perception, and it is one that we hear and understand. All that to be said, Mayor Kelly's office, my office, Mayor Kelly and I personally wrestled for months with what type of leader and who specifically we could ask to do this. We came to a unique solution. Joe Smith, who has chaired the school board 3 times in a row as a reflection of his extraordinary ability to lead, is one of the foremost members of our community. Very few people alive today have given as much to other people as Joe has. He is, by all accounts, as independent from the construction industry as any person could be. He is truthfully a boxing coach and a minister and a soon-to-be former school board member, school board chairman. And I love him dearly and very grateful that he has taken on yet one more chapter in his career in public service. And so it's a great honor also to Mayor Kelly and I that you would agree to do this. And for those of you who are serving alongside him, if you do not know Joe, you will come to love and appreciate Joe's heart for this community, which regardless of the recommendations this body makes, stands true, and we've all seen it for decades. So, Chairman, thank you for taking this assignment.
Well, I'll be brief. I would echo everything that Mayor Wamp said. I think when your name came up, Joe, it was at first surprising, in this context, because this body has for so long been presided over by somebody with industry experience, and industry experience is very, very important. But for those of you that may not know, the chairman rarely votes, only in cases of a tie. And what we needed was somebody who had a, judicial mindset. And this is, in the municipal parlance, a quasi-judicial position, and who really, in his heart of hearts, loves this community and wants what's best for the future of this community. And that person absolutely is Joe Smith. It made a ton of sense to me when I really began to think deeper about it. Again, Joe brings, most notably, one of the things from my time on this commission is that very rarely did we think about schools when we were thinking about planning. Joe will certainly bring that to the table, among other things. And I think he's a smart enough fella and conscientious enough that he understands that we need more density where density is wanted and less where it's not. We have a plan for this community, which is really well laid out and elucidated. And I know that Joe, being a good student himself, is going to dive into it and will preside over this body with great honor, and will instill a lot of confidence for all the people that come here, because he's also, what Joe also is a very patient and kind listener. So we very much appreciate everything you bring to the table here, Joe. And we look very much forward to your service in this role. Thank you, sir. Yep.
Thank you for those kind words from both of you, and thank you. And I look forward to serving in this role. And when the mayors called me, the first thing that they said was, we want somebody that has experience and decorum of a meeting, but we also want somebody that maybe doesn't have a lot of experience in the construction trade. And my wife was listening to the conversation, and she said, "Joe, you can't even drive a nail." So that's true. But I look forward to serving. I look forward to getting to know each of you guys, and I promise you that you'll be treated with respect and love, and let's grow, but let's do it responsibly, and let's make everybody in Hamilton County and the city of Chattanooga proud. Can we do that together? I'm so glad to be here.
Okay, thank you, mayors, and thank you, Joe. Our new chairman will not begin his chairmanship until the September meeting next month after his school board service is concluded. But we've invited the new chairman to sit in with us today so he can get a sense of the meetings. For those of you who are regular attendees, you will see that this is actually our first meeting hosted by the city of Chattanooga here at the Development Resource Center. This is part of the new memorandum of understanding between the county and the city. Future meetings will be here in this room at the same time they have always been. I've got a few housekeeping notes before we get started, just to explain what's going to happen today. The Regional Planning Agency staff has reviewed each case within the city of Chattanooga limits and made recommendations. The Hamilton County Planning Department have also reviewed each case in unincorporated Hamilton County and have made recommendations for those cases. Planning commissioners have received the staff reports for the cases on today's agenda and have had time to review the case information prior to this meeting. For those cases with staff recommendations to approve or approve with conditions, I will ask the staff if there is any opposition to the case or to the conditions. I'll probably ask it out loud in this room. Is there any opposition here for this case? If there is none and there's no issue in the staff report, we don't need a staff presentation unless a member of the body wants one. We can move straight to a vote. For staff recommendations with a recommendation to deny, or for cases with opposition present, we'll begin with a staff presentation. Following the presentation, commissioners will have the opportunity to question the staff. Then I'll ask the applicant to come to the podium. The applicant will have 7 minutes to present their request. They do not have to take all 7 minutes. There will be a time clock displayed that'll keep track of our remaining time. If there is any opposition, they have a total cumulatively of 9 minutes. I know we have one case in particular with a lot of people here today. That 9 minutes does not fluctuate if there's one person here in opposition or 20. So hopefully you have speakers chosen to speak during those 9 minutes, but it is 9 minutes cumulative per case. So I may, when we get into that case or any case where there's multiple people, I may ask you to wrap up your remarks so that the people behind you in line can also have an opportunity to speak. When you come to the podium to speak, please begin by stating your name and address for the record. The applicant will have 2 minutes to respond after the opposition has concluded. Planning commissioners will deliberate at that point and may or may not have questions for the applicant, the opposition, or staff. Cases are decided by a simple majority vote. Once your case is finished, if you want to discuss it with other parties, please exit to the lobby and step out before you begin your discussion so that we can continue the meeting here with our next case on the agenda. A few housekeeping items. Please silence your phones. Check them now and see if they're on silent or if they're going to ring really loudly during the meeting. You don't want to be that person. Just a reminder that the Planning Commission has no authority over traffic regulations, building codes, or stormwater regulations. Please direct your comments to the Planning Commission and not to the audience or the applicant. Only those at the podium will be recognized. Do not speak or shout from your seat in the audience. Once Planning Commission takes action, if you have any questions, please contact a staff member for info in the next several days. And note that for most requests, other than subdivisions, Planning Commission makes a recommendation, and final action on the request is taken by either the City Council or the County Commission the following month, allowing another opportunity for input. The Planning Commission does not rezone anything ever. Some of you may have heard that that is the case. The Planning Commission does not rezone anything. The Planning Commission merely makes recommendations to the elected bodies of Hamilton County and the City of Chattanooga. And then those elected bodies choose to rezone or not. A couple of notes for our members. You'll notice that I'm holding down the button for the microphone. Please hold down the button on the microphone when you're speaking. And when you're making the motion, make sure you say it clearly so I can know who's making the motion in second and communicate same to our staff. For anyone who needs a restroom, they are through those double doors in the back to your left as you exit this room. Take 2 lefts and you'll see both the restrooms. With today being our first meeting in this room, we've got some more tech on order that'll be here before next month. Chairs also will be here before next month, additional chairs. So bear with us if we have any technical difficulties. We'll slow down, and staff, if you need an extra minute or two, we can slow down and make sure we're catching up with everything. First meeting in a new building, we're liable to have a bug or two. So with that, I will move into the order of business for the City of Chattanooga. Members, we had some issues of compatibility between the city and county minutes this month. It was the first month of having both. So with your permission, I'd like to ask for a deferral of the minute approval. If I could have a motion to defer for 30 days, we can handle those at the next meeting.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion from Highlander, second from Burrs. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, commissioners. Brian, let's move to subdivision plats in the city of Chattanooga.
Sure. The first case under subdivision plats, there is no old business. First case is SDP 2628. This is the final plat. The name is Cornerstone Place Subdivision, Phase 1, lots 1 through 35, and Community Lot 1001. Staff has reviewed this final plat, It does meet the requirements of the subdivision regulations, and recommend to approve as presented.
All right, I have a staff recommendation to approve SDP 2628. Is there any opposition present in the audience? What's the will of the commission?
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion by Highlander and a second by Adamson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Brian, next case.
Yes, next case is SDP 2629. This is a request for a final plat. The name of the plat is Tiftonia Subdivision, lots 20A through 20F. Staff has reviewed this and recommends to approve, as this plat does meet the subdivision requirements of the city of Chattanooga.
Thank you, Brian. I have a staff recommendation to approve. Is there any opposition present in the audience today? Seeing none, what's the will of the commission?
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion from Adamson, second from Highlander to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Brian, before we go to the next case, I want to give you a heads up that I know the biggest crowd is here for item number 5 under new business at 1123 Mountain Creek Road. I'd like to move that to the top of the new business agenda so that we won't take up as much of people's time.
Okay, sounds good.
Please proceed to SDP 2630.
This is a preliminary plat. This is the second phase, the one you just approved a few minutes ago on the final plat. This is phase number 2 of Cornerstone Place Subdivision. Revised lots 17 through 21, revised lots 33 through 35, and new lots 36 through 45. Staff has reviewed this preliminary plat and recommends to approve as presented.
Okay, we have a staff recommendation to approve. Is there any opposition present today? Seeing none, what's the will of the commission?
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion by Adamson and a second by Maybe to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Brian, next case.
This is SDP 2631. This is a request for a preliminary plat. The name of the subdivision is Big Ridge Subdivision, lots 1 through 51. Staff has reviewed this preliminary plat. It does meet the requirements of the subdivision regulations, and we'd recommend approve with conditions. We did receive an email in opposition to this plat. It was related to lot size, grading, and wildlife. She couldn't be here today, I don't think, but we do have it for the record that there's somebody opposed to this.
Thank you, Brian. Can you go over the conditions?
Yeah, sure. Basis coming from the fire department, submit a water and hydrant plan to the fire department showing proposed fire hydrant locations measured in accordance with the 2018 IFC section, no more than 600 feet apart. And then based on the length of the proposed roadway, the existing hydrants do not appear to cover any lot, so they need to show a fire hydrant plan.
That's all.
That's it.
All right. Is there any opposition present to this one?
Opposed.
Okay, so we do have opposition present. Is the applicant present? All right. Applicant, if you want to come on up here, if you have anything you want to say for the plat, we'll hear from you for however long, up to 7 minutes, and then we'll go to opposition. And when we're going to speak today, and you've got multiple people, I ask that you line up from the podium down that side of the room so you're not obstructing the view of the other audience members. So I'll turn it over to the applicant for up to 7. Go ahead, Zeka.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Zeka Ferraz. I am at 310 Nye Drive, Chattanooga, Tennessee, 37411. So the proposition today of the Big Ridge subdivision is a piece of land that is currently going through the permitting process and being here as part of that. So far, I think what we can share about this project, other than what you're seeing here, is that the characteristics of the homes proposed here will minimize the disturbance of the land because the home builder is willing to work with the topography. So we're not talking about everything being pad ready or, pad graded lots, so you can expect basements, tall crawl spaces, measures, to be done in order to work with the topography. Like I said, is a challenging piece of property. So we are making efforts to keep that at a minimum, and while providing the requirements that the city of Chattanooga makes us do as we are getting the approvals needed for this project. So from what I've heard from opposition comments so far, that's all that I've got. I'm open for questions, and might give my time back to the opposition. Other than anything here other than that? Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant before we move on to opposition? Seeing none, they'll hold them probably for the end. Opposition, it looks like we have 3 speakers. So you have a total of 9 minutes. Whoever would like to go first, come on up. Please state your name and address first, and you can begin.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Karen Anglin. I'm at 6703 Moss Lake Drive. I'm a couple of blocks away from the proposed subdivision. I did submit a statement through the RPA website that's a little more detailed. So I just want to address quickly a couple of points of concern for me. One is that the residents in our area have received very little notice about this planning. And there are people there, including myself, that have been monitoring this property for months, if not longer. And a couple of months ago, I actually had a discussion with Jeff Davis specifically about this property. And he told me at the time that an application had not been filed yet, but he said a good indicator that some planning was going on would be to see the rezoning signs that are required to be posted by law. Now, my husband and I have been driving this road almost every day for 4 years, and we have never seen a rezoning sign there. And we don't see any indications whatsoever that there is any development being planned there. And when I spoke to my neighbors over the weekend, they were all in shock. So needless to say, we're kind of here a little bit in an emergency mode today, because this is new to us. So the only people who received notification of this are people that were considered leaders to our community, like associations and things like that. And they got an email Monday morning regarding this and were told that they had by Friday to submit comments and concerns. Now, that's not very much time to gather a community together to review the plans and then submit comments. So I'm respectfully requesting today that the commission defer this preliminary approval to give us time to go through these plans and really understand them. The other point I want to bring up is my concerns about traffic in the area. We have one entry into this neighborhood. We have one thoroughfare that goes through this neighborhood that everybody has to drive on. And at the entryway, there's one connecting road that goes down to the commercial area of Hickson. That's it. And when we even get snow up in the winter, which is every year, it's not unusual to see these roads closed for 24 hours. So it's hard to imagine 51 more houses coming in that are built right up against the entrance there, not being a situation of more congestion in traffic there. And, it's not hard to imagine that if a number of these people are still part of the workforce, that we're looking at a log jam around rush hour every day. And more importantly, what's deeply concerning to me is emergency access. What if our neighborhood has to evacuate for some reason? We would not be able to do that safely and quickly. So I am requesting again that when you look at these issues, please look at them deeply and meaningfully with the idea of protecting our residents and building a better neighborhood for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anglin. As we have the next opposition speaker come up, I want to say for those who are in attendance, I want to clear up a confusion. This is not a rezone case. There won't be a sign for a rezone because it's not being rezoned. This is a subdivision plat case. Every square inch of land in this county is zoned for some purpose. Whether it's houses or open space or tall buildings, and this is already zoned for residential, so that a rezone is not required. They are subdividing it into smaller lots today. I want to clear that up before anybody else spends their time on that. So please go ahead.
My name is Jan Purdy. I live on Moss Lake Drive in District 3. I am 4 houses away from a road that I would have to use to turn left on Big Ridge heading up toward Fairview. Currently, there's no plan, not that I'm not talking about plans, but there is no existing stop sign, light, anything controlling that intersection. It's extremely hazardous. When we come to that intersection, we have to count slowly to 10 because people come zooming up, especially since the new developments have been placed in the back. I don't know if you're familiar with Big Ridge cuts back into properties that are closer to the Tennessee River. Okay, they're not on it, but there are several fairly large developments back there, and they rely on that road. There's heavy traffic. People walk their dogs. They try to walk their dogs there, but I don't think they can anymore. They take their kids and go for a walk down to the marina. These are changes to the nature of how the people can enjoy the property that they selected when they moved there. And it is extremely hazardous, especially in the winter, but because there's no control there on Moss Lake Drive, I can't imagine how many driveways there are going to be. I think there may be 4 to 5 houses between that lower section in the image there and our intersection, Moss Lake going in there. And if all those, or even every other one, has a driveway, we're talking about terrible log jams and accidents. The road turns and it dips and it goes up and down, and I can't imagine how many accidents you're going to have there. So I respectfully ask for some information on that. I would agree with Karen's suggestion that there be some kind of delay because we were completely uninformed, and the HOAs that were notified last Monday, that's the earliest they had. How many people could mobilize their neighborhood in that time? I only found out about it 7:30 last night. I'd also like to ask that whoever, maybe people within the government who determine how much time a signage needs to be out there to alert the community so they can start talking about it and asking questions. When any of those signs came up, they either weren't there or they were just disappeared. And I think for transparency to the community so that we know what's going on, we have properties, we have people we care about, we have family members, and we're concerned about them. And that's why I'm here today. I don't understand your process thoroughly, but I plan to dig into your RPA website. I have tried to use it at times, but I'm having trouble finding things on there. So I do hope to tap into your knowledge on that. But we need to stay informed as citizens, and I would like to ask, just appeal, this is emotional for me, just appeal to you to think about the people who live in a neighborhood where this is happening. And that's probably all I can ask for, and I'll do whatever I need to as a citizen to help my neighbors know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if you have a question about anything you can't find on our website, if you stick around till after the meeting, one of our very helpful staff members can help guide you to that. And just a reminder again, this is not a rezone, so rezone signs are not required. This is a plat. Do we have any more opposition who wish to speak? Come on up.
Hello, my name is Don Anglin. I live at 6703 Moss Lake Drive. And when I first heard about this yesterday, and I was shocked when I heard 50 homes. I have no problems with zoning. I'm thinking that intersection, 50 homes. This is on plan form. This looks pretty simple to you guys. Probably never been there. Big Ridge hits that intersection, and when you're there just crossing it, I look to my left, I'm looking at the guy's roof on my left because he's that close and it's that steep. Big Ridge going down to Hickson Pike, you cannot safely walk it as a human. 12 inches away is a ditch on each side, and that's the runway for water to leave. You get a flat there, you're going to block traffic for a long time. People cannot safely even walk the road from that intersection down to Hickson Pike. It's steep and it's narrow, but beyond narrow, there's nowhere to go. I mean, literally that far from a truck's a wheel is a ditch. That's the drainage for that whole road going down. On your left is somebody's yard, and it's steep. He's got a mirror sometimes to see the road because he can't even come up a steep driveway. You're looking at their yards from the top looking down. It is that steep. And that's an intersection that when you come up, it's blind. Essentially, you're looking to your left, you cannot see people coming from what would be Fairview because it just reaches that intersection. It's a cluster at that intersection, and 50 homes. I can see a few here and there, but 50, and that's the only way out. My God, I'm thinking it just can't happen. It's bad now during people coming home. Now it's where are they gonna go? I mean, just one guy delaying himself with a slight problem with his car. He's blocking traffic all the way down the hill to Hickson Pike, and it's steep like this. I'm amazed that 50 homes could be there for that one intersection.
Sir, thank you
And
very
the
much. The
homes
time
up
for
in-
opposition
I'm
has
sorry?
passed. Sir, thank you very much. The time for opposition
Okay,
has passed. I
I'm
gave you a
sorry.
little bit extra. Yes, as I stated, it was 9 minutes at the beginning. If you want to come up, I'll give you 1 additional minute, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
For the next case, I know there's a lot of people here from Mountain Creek. It's 9 minutes, so you should probably decide now who's speaking. Okay.
Good afternoon, William Reed at 6502 Fairview Road. I live just, about 3 houses or 4 houses beyond where this proposed subdivision starts, beginning to go down into Bayview and working its way down. 5 years I've lived at this current home. The flavor of the community up there is all the houses, especially on Fairview, are half an acre, generally minimum. My observation only. I haven't researched it. Mine's 3/4 of an acre. It's a more open, a lot of wildlife and stuff like this as we've spoken of. Just want to get you folks who don't know the area well, just beyond my house, 2 doors down to the north, on the big hill, 2 homes were recently built in the last year. And they are actually on 1.3 acres each, and they have a lot of land, but because of the terrain and the severe drop-off, including the proposed area, the houses are built right up next to the road. And in fact, I looked at the houses and I said, there's no way you can ingress or egress your own driveway in this $750,000 home without backing onto Fairview. And you should know, it's a hill. I myself have to count to 10, and I have 2 entrances. My lot's 150 feet wide. I have to count 10 seconds to make sure no one's coming up. Looking at the size of these lots, I don't know what the builder is proposing, but I can only assume that these houses, again, because of the terrain, are going to be pushed up right next to the road. It's going to be the same situation. So I'm concerned about property values, of course, and I'm also concerned about what it's going to do to the flavor of our neighborhood.
Thank you very much.
Thank
sir.
you.
I will let the applicant come back up. I'll give you an additional minute also, so you have 3 minutes.
Yeah, thanks so much for the comments. I think there are many valuable points here that were made today. One thing that it's written down there is approved with conditions. One of the conditions that we had was that individual driveways are being decreased by pretty much time. So we're going to have shared driveways for most of the houses. I believe we have 1 individual driveway because of the odd number of houses to 1. So it's 26 driveways right now. All the driveways are being designed and built in order for the maneuvering of the cars avoid backing into the existing right-of-way. On top of that, there is a 5-foot of right-of-way dedication that the property owner is providing to the city. So that right-of-way now is being increased, and that is being done by, the property owner volunteering that 5 feet back to them. All the things that were brought up lastly here, I think, was how far away the homes are going to be set on the lot, and we are respecting again the setback requirements here. We are avoiding slabs on a lot of these cases, which allows the homes to be built further into the slope and back into where that setback line lands. So, I believe that that's really what I've got, as far as the concerns that were being brought up today, other than that, we're staying within, zone compliant with everything. And, yeah, and any other issue with infrastructure and, that's the only thing I can think of are gonna be dealt with during the land service permit that we're still working that through. And we gotta move that next after we get, this week. So, yeah, that's all I've got right now. So.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for opposition or the applicant from planning commissioners? Yes, sir, Commissioner Highlander.
Thank you, Chairman.
Can you
Sir-
can you please hold the button down so we capture it on the live stream? Hold the button down when you talk.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. It sounds like you've done some planning, and I appreciate that. Have you by any chance spoken with Jeff Davis, the city council person, to get his input on the project?
No.
Okay.
We have not.
And I realize it's not required, but, sometimes a community meeting can kind of lay some of the fears of the community. You've not done that either, I don't guess, have you? I know it's not required for you, but sometimes it's wise to go ahead and do that and kind of have a meeting of the minds. But, okay, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Lyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Zach, did you guys do any studies of layouts that were more of like I'd call it like a traditional neighborhood pattern where you sort of have, a couple, like maybe a road coming off of Big Ridge and one off of Fairview with lots more interiorly focused?
Yeah, we've done this. Trust me, this land has been evaluated for a couple of years. And yeah, it just does not work with RPA to have anything other than what you're looking at right there. It becomes very inconceivable to build into the land further more than what we already proposed. So that has been done.
I mean, this is this is one of these instances where, the property is zoned RN16, and, it seems like the what is being drawn here, technically works. I mean, I do have a house not very far from here, over off of Ganstor Road, and spend a lot of time in this part of the county. And I agree. There's a couple of hills going up and down Big Ridge that are really difficult, even without ingress and egress on them. I mean, just simply driving up and down them at times is difficult. And I mean, I look at this plan and I while I don't like it, to be honest, and it's no offense to the developer or to you as the engineer, I mean, you're trying to do something with a piece of property that's difficult. I mean, I'm looking at it and I don't like it, but it also meets the zoning and it meets the letter of the law. I'm not exactly sure what grounds legally that a denial that I could deny it. I mean, I don't think that it's the best way to do this. And I, as a person that drives around on all of these roads, it's going to be difficult on the people that are going to try to buy those houses to get in and out of those. I mean, it just is. But I don't. I mean, this is a plat, and it's not a rezone. If it was a rezone to that zoning, I'd say no. But it's already zoned that, so I don't exactly know what to do. I mean, is there a? I mean,
There's no shouting from the audience. I'm sorry, you've had your time to speak, and now it's the planning commissioner's time to deliberate.
I mean, is there a threshold? I guess it's a question for staff for where traffic impact analysis kicks in. I mean, this is 52. Is it 51 or 52? 51, and I'm wondering, is that at the threshold, or at what point would a traffic impact analysis be required?
I'm not sure the city has a specific number. It would probably come up during permitting for land disturbing permit if a traffic study was required. I don't know what it's going to show other than reducing some of the curb cuts or driveway cuts.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Maybe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question for staff. So, and you kind of hit on that, Mr. Schultz, is Will the city ultimately, through the permitting process, have influence over the amount of curb cuts that would they have to sign off on that?
Yes, during that land disturbing permit, they would issue driveway curb cuts and limit the number perhaps, based on their review.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Zecca, have you applied for a land disturbing permit yet? No, we haven't. Okay, so you haven't even applied for it. Okay. Yes, sir. Commissioner Janeway.
Yeah, I want to, I guess, explain to the public. We hear your concerns and we understand. I think you've heard some of the commissioners up here talk about how this is not ideal. We actually had a training today during lunch talking about when we can and can't deny plat. Unfortunately, I guess for you all that live close by, when it gets to this stage and it's already zoned and it already has a right to build a certain amount of homes, when we review these plats, all we're reviewing for is, does it meet the regulations? We can't go beyond that unless there's some sort of concrete, substantial reason, such as a study that says that it makes the community a lot more dangerous, or the road doesn't meet fire code, or we have to have a reason like that in order to deny a plat. We also can't defer a plat without the applicant's request to defer a plat. And so we're sort of handcuffed as a body to say, if it meets the regulations, we don't have an option but to approve an application like this, even if we don't like it. So I just want to explain that to you. It's not, and I'm not trying to scapegoat or shift blame. I'm just letting you know that's what state law says. So our responsibility as a body is, does this application meet the requirements that have been laid out by city council or this body? And so that's what we're reviewing against today.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question for staff.
Commissioner Byrd.
Can we just walk through the public notice for this site and just, I know that was a concern. I'd like to understand that a little.
Yeah, the chairman's mentioned it several times now. This is not a zoning code, so no signs are placed on the property. We don't even send letters to adjacent property owners because it's a by right use. So the only thing that gets advertised is this meeting and those cases listed in that meeting. I'm not sure what letter was sent on Monday to the folks here, since it was not a zoning case. It may not have came from RPA. I'm not sure. I'd have to see that.
Services tracks cases and
it may have came from Neighborhood Services.
I'm assuming that's where that came from.
Because we wouldn't have sent letters unless it's a zoning case. In this case, there's no zoning case, no sign went up. So I'm assuming it came from Neighborhood Services.
Right. It is. It's currently zoned RN1-6.
RN1-6, and it meets that zoning designation in terms of lot size and lot frontage.
So that means each minimum lot has to be at least 6,000 or more square feet, and with at least, is it 55
feet of frontage?
55 feet of frontage. Okay. And single-family detached homes can be built there, single-unit detached.
Correct. That's the only thing that can be built there, plus ADU.
And just for curiosity's sake, Zecca, what is the plan for the remainder of the property? I mean, I see lot subdividing all along every kind of square inch of road frontage, and then what seems to be an extremely large community lot, or is that a private estate lot, or what's happening with what out there in the middle?
No plans have been made to that open space right now. For construction purposes and development purposes, it's going to stay as is. Yeah, we have not defined it as a community lot this time, but yeah, it's going to stay untouched during construction.
There's not a phase 2 coming after this pencils out, that one of those turns into a road cut?
Honestly, that's the idea that you brought in of building into the law used a lot of that space, but again, we should not conceivable. The amount of retaining wall, we're talking about 20 plus feet of vertical differences here and there. So
I have one more question for staff.
Yeah, Commissioner Byrd.
Has the Transportation Division of Public Works reviewed this?
Yes.
Okay.
When there's any subdivision plat gets reviewed by all the transportation, stormwater, RPA, all the department, fire marshal reviews it. So all those departments come together to create a staff report.
yeah, that was even why we got
The shared driveways. It makes sense, and I appreciate the thought that was put into that. Yep.
All right. Any other questions? Any motions? What's the will of the commission?
I know this is a tough site, and I know it's steep out there, but this is Chattanooga. People are buying lots on Signal Mountain. People are buying lots on Lookout Mountain. People are buying lots on Missionary Ridge. I don't think this is too far out of the ordinary. I don't think it's terribly out of character with the area around it. I know the lots are somewhat smaller, but at the end of the day, we're utilizing existing infrastructure instead of seeing another subdivision where we're putting in a whole new network of streets and focusing a ton of traffic onto a single intersection. This is utilizing existing street grids, or, well, loops. And as Commissioner Janaway mentioned, we already had our training on what we can and can't deny. I'm not really seeing anything that would be grounds for denial without really stretching some definitions in my own mind. So with that, I'm going to move to approve.
I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Janeway. Was that a second from, motion from Byrd, second from Janeway? Is that correct? Sorry, you came to mind when you spoke while I was talking. All right, so I have a motion that's been properly seconded. What's the will of the commission? All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
The ayes have it. Brian, let's go to new business. I believe will be on the first case, but we said we would move case number 5 up to the top of the new business agenda. We'll give folks just a minute or two to exit.
Did y'all get the no votes? Oh, I thought it was 3.
Okay, Brian, let's move to case for the record 2026-0100 at 1123 Mountain Creek Road.
Sure. This is a request to rezone some property that's zoned RN1 7.5 residential zone to RN3. Proposed use is to build a multi-unit 4-story residential development. It's roughly 4.8 acres in size. 56 units are proposed. That's a density of 11.66 dwelling units per acre. There's been no zoning history on this property other than the equivalency mapping that was done last year when the new zoning code was adopted, basically going from R1 to RN 175. There has been some zoning history along Mountain Creek Road, most notably to the south. You can see the brown RN3. That was rezoned in 2016 with conditions. To the east of the site across Mountain Creek Road, there was in 2006 and 2005 some special permits for residential PUDs. These are all multi-units on one lot. And then most recent on this side of Mountain Creek Road, or the western side of Mountain Creek Road, just to the north, you can see the red line. In 2021, there was a rezoning request to rezone from R1 to R3 with conditions. Staff and PC recommended to approve that request with the conditions, and it was ultimately withdrawn at City Council pending a Mountain Creek Road study. Here's the aerial view of the site on Mountain Creek Road. Is currently vacant. And then to the north is single-unit residential. To the south is vacant, and then further south is multi-unit residential. To the east across Mountain Creek Road is multi-unit residential, and to the southeast is a school and a park. Here's a view of the site. This is the area to the north of the site, which is single-family dwelling. This is the area to the south, Mountain Creek Road. The site's just on your right-hand side. This is the area to the north. So this is a part of the PUD. Again, area to the north is part of a PUD. While more housing is needed in Chattanooga, there was a Mountain Creek Road study that was done in April 10, 2023, which actually was adopted by the City Council, and you see the resolution number on the screen, which is 31640. That study stated that more housing is needed in Chattanooga. The Mountain Creek area already has a significant share of apartment complexes. In that study, 57% of all housing units in the corridor are rental units. More apartment complexes could change the residential character of the area. While it's important to provide a robust and diverse range of housing options in the area, it's also important to support an appropriate balance between rental and owner-occupied housing. As out of that study, 2 policies were adopted by City Council. Number 1, no additional rezoning for apartment complexes in the Mountain Creek corridor is recommended. And number two, for all the reasons stated above and in that report, the Regional Planning Agency recommends not exceeding the densities allowed by the current zoning in the Mountain Creek corridor. So those two policies are in place through the Mountain Creek Road corridor that was adopted by City Council. Fast forward to today, we have 2026, in this case, just recently, I think in July, the Planning Commission approved Plan Chattanooga. It's actually going to City Council August 11th for their review and adoption. Plan Chattanooga recommends for this piece of property suburban residential, which is primarily single-family dwellings. It also has in the green hatching on the area, preservation of natural resources in terms of steep slopes. This place type also carried over that specific Mountain Creek Road corridor policy, made sure it got incorporated into this plan. So the suburban residential place type basically says the primary use is single-unit dwellings and ADUs. It does allow limited uses such as townhomes, a multifamily, with some criteria being met. Those criteria are three. On a principal arterial with existing 4-lane cross-section, it does not meet that requirement. Within quarter mile of a transit route on an existing 4-lane cross-section, does not meet that criteria. Finally, number three, within a quarter mile of a public school. Well, it does meet that criteria because right across the road is a public school. But the thing that still says in this place type is hosts that Mountain Creek Road policy that no more apartment complexes should be rezoned and hold the densities to what they are based on the current zoning. Here's the site plan submitted with the request. It's roughly 4.8 acres. They're keeping a little over 2.5 acres or 2.2 acres in the back, protecting steep slopes. This is something the plan supports, and Mountain Creek Road supports protecting the steep slopes and pushes everything to the front of the property. Staff has several comments on this, so bear with me. The proposed development does not meet several recommendations in all or part of the Mountain Creek Road study. The proposal is to keep 2.2 acres of the steep slope on the western side undisturbed. During that Mountain Creek Road study, 70% of the respondents said we should regulate steep slopes. They felt steep slopes was important. It's an important thing to do along Mountain Creek Road. It also stated that buildings on the west side of Mountain Creek Road are generally clustered around the base or on the tops or of the nose due to topography. The plan further states that in order to preserve the viewshed of Baldwin's Ridge for the Mountain Creek community and address concerns about development on steep slopes, any future development should be clustered at the base of the ridge with grading limited to the areas closest to Mountain Creek Road. Well, this plan sort of meets those two conditions. It's protecting steep slopes, but it's also moving the development closer to Mountain Creek Road. Another comment was provide housing. One of the four broad goals of Plan Chattanooga is to provide strong neighborhoods and broad housing choices. And, Chattanooga is made up of diverse, safe neighborhoods where everyone can find housing that suits their lifestyles and needs and is affordable to them. But we still have this Mountain Creek Road study that's still adopted by City Council, and we have to rely on that. While it's important to provide a robust and diverse range of housing options in the area, it's also important to support appropriate balance between rental and owner-occupied housing. That policy still holds that no apartment complexes in the Mountain Creek Road is recommended for rezoning. The Mountain Creek Road study says that. Plan Chattanooga states that. So looking at the density, it's 4.8 acres. It's currently zoned RN 175. If you take out 15% of the site for streets and stormwater and other things, meaning that RN 175 zone, they can roughly get 25 single-family homes on that site as zoned today. Based on gross acreage, it actually jumps up to 28. So it's anywhere between 25 and 28 that you can possibly get on that site in terms of single-unit detached dwellings based on the current zoning. Staff recommends to deny this request. The proposal is a 4-story building with 58 parking spaces. The adopted policy that is additional rezoning for apartment complexes in the Mountain Creek corridor is not recommended. Following that recommendation, staff follows that policy and recommends to deny. The proposal of 56 units on 4.8 acres, that's a density of 11.7, which is much higher than the 28 units, which is basically 5.8. So one of the things the applicant's narrative stated that the development will be executed at a high standard and completed in a manner that's responsive to neighborhood concerns. We've, in the staff report, know that the developer might be beneficial for them to hold a neighborhood meeting to discuss this proposed site with the community. That may have happened, I believe, sometime last week. But based on those two policies that's been clearly adopted by City Council, staff's recommendation on this case is to deny.
All right, thank you, Brian. Any questions from the Planning Commission for staff? All right, is the applicant present? Is there opposition present? That's what I thought.
Mr. Chairman, I failed to state, we did receive emails in opposition. You should have a pack of that in front of you, a copy of that.
Thank you, Brian. Hannah Claire, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Hannah Claire Bogus with Chambliss Law here on behalf of Matco Affordable Housing. We also have the developer AB in the audience and Mike Price with MAP Engineers, who's a civil engineer on this project. As always, we appreciate staff's thoughtful and thorough report, particularly taking into account the Mountain Creek corridor study here. In this context, though, we believe it's important to look both at the development guidelines for this type of property, for this development, including preserving steep slopes, housing affordability, and then, as Brian mentioned, clustering development toward the existing corridor. We want to note that the corridor study itself acknowledges that only 1% of the respondents to that study were renters, even though renters make up about 40% of the population in this study area. We did hold a community meeting last week, and also at that meeting, the majority of people represented are single-family owners. And so I can't say what the study would look like if renters had responded, and I know that staff and city, of course, wants everyone in an area to respond, but this type of development seeks to serve not only renters, but also senior renters, people who are on fixed incomes, and so we believe this type of housing is important to this community. As Brian mentioned, the site is approximately 5 acres on Mountain Creek Road. Sits in an area that has mixed housing type with multifamily and single family residential, along with the horizontal property regime across the street at the Oxford. We're asking for 56 units in a 4-acre or a 4-story building. And as I mentioned, the property is intended to serve senior residents in the area, which make up one of the fastest growing populations, not only in Chattanooga, but in this area in particular. The study also notes that the average age in this corridor is about 10 years older than the average age across the city of Chattanooga generally. As outlined in staff's report, the by right density at the site is approximately, let's just call it 25. In order to make this type of development financially feasible with the affordability component, the developer would not only need to develop the site to have a single family unit, but also an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit, which would result in a density of about 50. So we do not believe we are that far apart on the density from what the by right is under the corridor study. Last Monday, we held a community meeting at a church out off Runyon Road, which was attended by Councilman Henderson and also Commissioner Baker. The primary issues raised at that meeting were with respect to buffers, traffic, steep slopes, as we mentioned, density, and community need. As a result of those conversations, we would like to propose some additional conditions on our rezoning. The first is that the landscaping buffer along the northern portion of the site, which abuts against residential, be increased to 20 feet. And we are also offering that the rezoning be conditioned that the development is used for senior housing. And so we would like to request the rezoning application. I think Brian also mentioned we were wanting to preserve approximately 2.2 acres of the steep slope that goes up Walden's Ridge. I think preserving steep slopes is important to the community members across the road to preserve both their view and then also minimize stormwater impact and other disturbances to steep slopes. For these reasons, we request a recommendation for approval from this body, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hannah Claire, how do you define senior citizen? Is there an age cutoff that you're stating?
So those regulations are imposed by the federal government. I believe it is 65 62 and older. And then the rental rates, if you were about to ask, are income based. And so the rent includes utilities. All of that is included in the rent, and it's a multiplier of the income for the household.
Is there an AMI number that you have to hit?
I will allow the developer to come up and answer those affordability questions.
Good afternoon. Yes, the income,
Can you
it's a
say-
Bishek Mather, 15 Bancroft Place, Nashville, Tennessee. And the AMI average will be 60% at this site.
Thank you. Any questions from Planning Commission for the applicant? All right, thank you both very much. We have 9 minutes for the opposition, and when we were in the old room, I could see the clock. I can't see it now, so if y'all could. Okay, great. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Ralph Noble, 3323 Stone Creek Drive, Chattanooga, Tennessee, 37405. I'm the president of the Oxford Homeowners Association. We have a good number of people from the Oxford here with us today. There were a lot more at the open meeting we had at the church. We could go into lots of small reasons why we oppose this, but the main reason is good faith and how you do something. The Mountain Creek Corridor Plan was developed in good faith with input from lots of people in the area. People spent time, they spent effort, and they believe in that plan. And that's why it should not be changed. If you do something, study it, make a plan, stick to the plan, follow the plan. That's it. The plan says no more apartments on Mountain Creek Road, no more apartments on Mountain Creek Road. Doesn't matter if it's a good idea today. If you approve this one, it'll be the drip in the bucket. There'll be more coming next week, next month, and so on down Mountain Creek. We don't want it. Stick to the plan. It was approved with input from lots of people in good faith. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Come on up, Bob.
My name is Bob Geyer, and I reside at 4143 Quarry View, which is a 4100 block of Mountain Creek, so I'm a few blocks to the east. I also sit on the Board of Zoning Appeals, representing District 1, sit in that chair right there. Nathan, I hope you guys can arrange for new chairs. We need them badly. Okay. So I'm also the communicator for the Friends of Mountain Creek, which is a 501c3, whose mission is to improve the outcome of the quarry property and the community at large. We are joined in this mission by 5,400 petition supporters across this corridor and the city. The comments I offer here are my own. The corridor study was endorsed by this body and accepted by City Council under resolution number 131640 on June 8, 2023. The corridor study's first recommendation is to not permit rezoning for increased density. The basis and applicability of this recommendation is as follows. At the time of the study in 2022, there were 1,693 high-density apartment units along the corridor. Since then, another 126 has been added. The total number of single-family homes remains about the same as it was at that point of 1,292. That amounts to a proportion of one home to 1.5 apartments. Various published demographic studies of mid-sized U.S. cities, which includes Chattanooga, by the way, record that single-family homes outnumber apartment units by ratios of between 1.5 to 1 and 3 to 1, typically. Of the total, single-family detached and attached houses, single-family detached and attached houses account for 55 to 75%, and that exceeds the corridor's 42%. And multi-unit apartment structures make up to 25% to 45%, which is far below the corridor's 58%. Thus, the ratio of homes to apartments here is the inverse of similar cities, and in the upper bound is skewed by a factor of 4.5. Therefore, more high-density apartments is an appropriate alternative. The notion that density here is not increasing is absurd. It was never the intention of allowing ADUs, that is, allowing homeowners to add mother-in-law apartments, should morph into permitting developers to essentially upzone R1 to the density of duplexes RN2 for subdivisions. They are shamelessly sharpshooting the rules. The staff is correct to recommend the denial of this application for these reasons. The appropriateness of this land use is also mischaracterized. First, there are already 3 senior care facilities within a few blocks of this location. Second, the location is not close to medical resources. Third, there are simply not employment opportunities nearby. And last, contrary to the narrative, there is no easily accessed nearby retail. The closest retail is Walmart, which is about a mile away. There is neither public transportation nor a safe sidewalk network. Walking a mile along Mountain Creek Road and Signal Mountain Road and then crossing them cannot be done safely by anyone of any age. This location fails to deliver on each of these 4 features. Additionally, in my opinion, it fails on a 5th. Seniors need safe access to fresh air and park space. Crossing Mountain Creek Road is, for somebody of the age of 80, is not safe. May I suggest an alternative location? The city wishes to stimulate growth around Montague Park. This funding opportunity could get that ball rolling. That location will satisfy all of these criteria. Finally, when the Park in the City initiative was introduced, I listened to Mayor Kelly's Parks Director, Scott Martin, describe the 8 to 80 philosophy championed by Gil Penalosa, a prominent urban planner. The intersectional test challenges community leaders with a simple question. Would you send an 8-year-old and an 80-year-old together to walk or bike to this park or store? If the answer is no, the infrastructure planning has failed. The proposed plan for 1123 Mountain Creek does not conform with the agreed upon corridor study and is not a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. We have about 3 minutes left. Please come up.
Justin Cox, 7013 Levi Road. Thanks for giving me just a moment. As proposed, I would not be in favor of this, but the 2 acres that the developer has said that they will remain undisturbed if they were willing to land trust that, or they were willing to deed it so that it could never be developed, that would be a changer for me. Because if we are blocking off that land and ensuring it's never developed, that really does change a thing. The building that they're proposing looks like everything else down through there. If we build 5 homes in that area, it will cause more land disturbance than the one building. So my objection is if he doesn't land trust this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We have 2 minutes left of opposition. I don't see any other speakers, so I will call the applicant back up for your 2-minute rebuttal.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners, and the neighbors from the community whom I spent some time with last week. Thank you for the time this afternoon and for the consideration of this rezoning request. Once again, my name is Abhishek Mathur. I'm the principal of Matco Affordable. We're asking for rezoning that would allow this 4-story building at 1123 Mountain Creek to serve 56 senior households. We're asking for that 4th story for one simple reason. It's because that is what allows an elevator to be built on this site. For older residents, an elevator is not a convenience. It is what lets someone stay in their home after a knee replacement, carry groceries in without a flight of stairs. And as mentioned earlier, we're happy to condition this rezoning that it be restricted to senior housing for individuals that are 62 or older. We've heard community concerns about multifamily development, and we take them seriously. What we would ask the commission to weigh is that those same concerns would exist under the zoning already in place. It's entitled for 25 or 28 detached homes with this ADU, accessory dwelling unit, that is roughly the same number of residents on this property, arriving and leaving on the same road, and the density is largely a wash between one development or the other. What is not a wash is the hillside. That is the one measure where these 2 plans are meaningfully different. It is the measure that the corridor study cares most about along this stretch. Detached homes with ADUs spreads across the entire parcel. They require internal streets, driveways, utility runs, and significant grading. On a site like this, with the ridge and the steep slopes, that means cutting into the ground that is best left alone. It means significantly more impervious surfaces, more grading, and more stormwater leaving this property than it is today. And as a individual mentioned earlier, we're happy to condition this also on a conservation easement or something else to dedicate that undisturbed land for a long term. Specifically, it was mentioned at the community meeting of potentially even using that as hiking space for that community there. The single four-story building also concentrates the footprint at the flattest, most buildable part of the portion of the site, again, which was dedicated in that corridor study to ensure less hardscape, grading, runoff.
Thank you. That's the end of your 2 minutes.
Thank you so much.
Okay, questions from the Planning Commission for the applicant or the opposition? Councilwoman Burrs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question about your proposal. In the project narrative, it says 58-unit multifamily development. It does not mention senior housing. Are you changing your plan to all senior housing?
No, the plan, that is an omission on Chambliss's behalf in submitting the application and not mentioning senior housing. The plan from the start has been to do senior housing, and that was just omitted from their narrative.
So it's 100% senior housing, 4-story?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
And how will that be vetted? How is that?
I'm happy to come in here. So this would be leasing each of these units for income-based restriction with an average of 60% AMI, as well as making sure it meets the HUD requirements for senior housing, which requires 62 and older.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
I have a question for staff.
Commissioner Byrd.
Can you walk me through how the Mountain Creek Road study has been incorporated into Plan Chattanooga? Does Plan Chattanooga supersede that study, or is it formally incorporated?
It's
How does
formally
that work?
incorporated. That policy, a Mountain Creek Road corridor, is formally included in Plan Chattanooga in that place type for that specific reason. And can I clarify something, Mr. Chairman? On the ADU discussion, ADUs do not count towards density. They're accessory dwelling units, so it's still 25 or 28 units. We don't count ADUs as part of a unit.
Questions from Planning Commission or comments? Commissioner Janeway.
Yeah, I'd just like to make the point that, as somebody that worked with RPA staff for 2 years on a plan, I really believe in these plans. And I know it takes staff and the public a lot of time out of their day, out of their week, out of their year to come up with a lot of these things. And so I'm going to have to side with staff on this, that I feel like we should respect the plan.
Haven't heard a motion yet.
I make the motion to deny. While I appreciate their desire for the housing and improved housing, I think we need to follow the plan. So make the motion to deny.
I have a motion from Highlander, a second from Janeway. Any questions, discussion?
Yeah, I just want to say before we take the vote, I was planning on making the same motion or seconding it, but y'all beat me to it. I think it's very clear based on, it is so explicit under Resolution 31640. Like, I do not feel comfortable voting over City Council when they have very explicitly said no more apartments in this area. However, I do want to formally have it recorded that I think that study might merit some reconsideration due to this specific area. If it were not for that resolution, I would be moving to approve full speed ahead. We're across the street from a school and a park and 5 minutes away from a grocery store. And then there's another much larger park just up the road at the Walden's Ridge area. This is a very amenity-rich area. And so I do wonder if the Mountain Creek study is really meeting the rapidly changing needs of Chattanooga, especially the needs of renters. So I do want all that formally recorded, but I'm fully supportive of the motion given how explicit the recommendation from City Council is.
Thank you, Commissioner Byrd. Did I have another commissioner? Yes, Commissioner Lyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think the only other thing that I do think about is, and I have similar sentiments to what Commissioner Byrd is kind of mentioning. I think the other thing that I'm sort of trying to wrestle with in terms of resolutions, it is the voluntary incentives program, which is specifically designed for affordable housing, where we have created a mechanism that in particular areas where we have already invested in existing infrastructure, then leveraging that to allow for increased density above what we have also said are the baselines, knowing that oftentimes it is extremely difficult to provide affordable housing. I mean, you're building something at retail and then you're renting it at wholesale. And so I can't say thank you enough for this initiative. It is so needed. And I think, you start going down this matrix of who is left out. I mean, the rising inflation that we all feel is adding members of our community to what qualifies as those AMI buckets, as fast as it possibly can. But then even amongst that group, the senior group is an additionally left out crowd. And so there are a couple of moral conundrums there, but I feel like we have conflicting desires as a community, and perhaps those are good opportunities for us to ask our leaders to continue those conversations. That yes, we do put a plan into place, but as we move forward, we need to be visiting these plans extremely regularly, especially as things like this come up, because we just can't afford as a community to miss opportunities to provide for the least of our community.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the vote. All those in favor of a denial, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Everyone here from the Mountain Creek Road case, if you want to stay for the meeting, I don't know why, but you're welcome to do so. If you're leaving, please orderly file out the back there, because I'm sure you'll want to talk about this in the lobby.
You got withdrawn. 96 withdrawn. No. Yeah, just it. We can't in case somebody showed up.
We'll proceed with the rest of new business now. Item 1 on the agenda, case 2026-0096, was withdrawn before the deadline. No action is needed on that. That case no longer exists. Let's move forward, Brian, to 2026-0097.
Sure. This is 1307 Hickson Pike. This is a request to rezone a piece of property zoned institutional zone to CNT, neighborhood transition zone. And you can see on the map, it's on Hickson Pike. It has RN15 to the north, RN15 to the east. To the south, it's a mixture of little small-scale commercial zones from CN to CNT. And to the west is RN15. This site was equivalency mapped, what used to be R4 to the institutional zone in 2025. The R4 zone at that time did allow the applicant's proposed use, which is a beauty shop and salon. That was a permitted use. The new zone, institutional, does not allow that. So that's why you're having the zoning case in front of you today. There's been no other zoning history on this property. It's currently an institutional use, and to the north is single-unit residential. To the east across Hickson Pike is single-unit residential, and to the south is office uses. Further south is commercial, and to the west is single-unit residential. Here's a view of the site. It's a vacant structure. Used to have an office in it. This is north of the site, single-family dwelling. This is the site and adjacent properties, which are single-family dwellings and office uses. This is adjacent to the south of the site. East of the site, across Hickson Pike. This is southeast of the site. You can see, again, some more little commercial uses here. South of the site, some more commercial uses. This property is in Plan Chattanooga, which recommends a village center for this particular piece of property, and I highlighted in the orange circle where that property is, so it recommends a village center. Here's a site plan submitted with a request. It's utilizing the existing structure and existing parking and ingress and egress points. This request to rezone from institutional CNT is consistent with the Village Center place type designation plan Chattanooga. That is an extension of existing zoning to the south. This would provide a transition use along the Hickson Pike from the single family to the north and smaller scale commercial to the south. Again, the prior R4 zoning allowed the uses recommended or proposed uses by the applicant. So staff recommends to approve.
Thank you, Brian. Is there any opposition present? Is the applicant present? What's the will of the commission?
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion from Burrs, second from Highlander. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Brian, let's go to case 98.
Okay, case 98. This is 5251 and 5313 Champion Road. This is a request to lift conditions. It's not a request to rezone property. This property is already zoned CC, or previously it was C2 with conditions. So the applicant's requesting to lift conditions 3, 4, 5, and 6 from ordinance number 13749. The applicant intends to operate a commercial industrial supply business on the property. As stated before, in 2021, this property was rezoned from I think part of it was C5, the little small portion, the bigger portion in the south was C5. So rezoned that and this RN1 property to C2 with conditions. Condition number 1 is no storage of vehicles within 50 feet of the right-of-way of Champion Road. The applicant wishes to keep that in place. Condition number 2, lighting to be directed away from all residential properties. The applicant wishes to keep that condition. Conditions in red are what the applicant wishes to remove. 1 access point onto Champion Road. Condition number 4, a 7-foot tall opaque fence to be installed around the storage facility areas. Condition number 5, outdoor storage facility use only. And condition number 6, adult-oriented establishments, gas stations, open-air markets, vehicle repair or service stations, car washes, and wholesaling with accessory warehousing shall be prohibited. So those are the conditions that are on the property today. When this is originally submitted for rezoning request, the request was to do RV and boat storage. That did not make it into the condition. That'll come to play in a few minutes. This is a vacant piece of property. To the north is single unit residential vacant land. To the east is single unit residential. To the south is a church, and to the east is vacant property owned by the state. Here's a view of the site. This is area along Champion Road. This is north of the site on Champion Road. And this is the intersection Champion Road and Highway 58. This property is in Plan Chattanooga. You can see just on the right-hand side of Champion Road. That's in the county. The plan or place type recommendation of this property is suburban residential. However, this property was rezoned in 2021 prior to the adoption of the new plan. Here's a site plan submitted a request. You can see it's just this one property here. They're proposing to do a commercial industrial supply business. The CC zone is currently what is zoned today, provides or has standards that address land use, addresses height, landscape buffering, and screening requirements. Some of the specific conditions back in 2021 are redundant and overly restrictive to the permitted uses, which is a commercial supply establishment. So we'll go through these one at a time. Condition number 3, there's 1 access point on the Champion Road. The development requires 2 access points, 1 for delivery vehicles and 1 for freight traffic. Delivery vehicles and freight traffic, and then 1 for customers and employees. So staff is supportive of removing this condition, number 3. Condition number 4 was a 7-foot tall opaque fence shall be installed around the storage facility areas. This condition will no longer be required as this is a change of use from outdoor storage to indoor commercial industrial supply operation. The current landscape regulations would also require a top 20C landscape buffer where abutting any residential zone or use. So staff is supportive of removing this condition. Condition number 5, this is sort of the crux of the case. The previous zone was conditioned to outdoor storage facility use only. Now we need to define what outdoor storage means. As when this is rezoned back in 2021, that's the definition we use. Outdoor storage means any outdoor storage on this side of any goods, materials, merchandise, recreational vehicles, motor vehicles, passenger vehicles, and commercial vehicles. The commercial vehicles could include earth-moving equipment, vehicles such as but not limited dump trucks and earth moving equipment. So those could be outdoor storage on this property. As I stated earlier, in 2021, the proposed use was RV and vehicle boat storage only. That condition did not get placed on this property. It left it vague at outdoor storage, but that opens up a lot of storage that can happen on this property. The developer is proposing to change it from outdoor storage to a 10,000 square foot building to consist of 2,000 square feet of office space and 8,000 square feet of warehousing. Staff is supportive of not lifting this condition, but amending the condition to change the use from outdoor storage only to heavy retail. One of the reasons behind that is that amending this condition would offset the possible nuisance that outdoor storage materials and commercial supply vehicles could have related to visual appearance along this corridor leading to Booker T. Washington State Park, and heavy-duty construction trucks and equipment on this two-lane road could have an impact where this proposed use would not have nearly that type of impact. So again, staff is recommending to amend that condition. Condition number 6 was not needed at the time back in 2021 because it was already limited to outdoor storage only. This is redundant. Some of these uses are not permitted in the CC zone, so staff recommends to lifting condition number 6. So staff recommends to deny the applicant's request, but to approve differently, we recommend to keep condition number 1, no storage of vehicles within 50 feet of the right-of-way of Champion Road. Keep condition number 2, lighting to be directed away from all residential areas or properties, and amend condition number 3 to state heavy retail rental and service with no outdoor storage permitted only. So it limits that use to heavy retail, and that's pretty much what the applicant's wishing to do. Staff is only recommending to lift the conditions on, this is 2 parcels. Staff is recommending to lift the conditions on this 1 parcel, which is the red leader line, showing to that site only where the developer wishes to construct something on the site. Staff is recommending that conditions 1 through 6 remain on the larger CC zoned as it stands today, as there's no potential use of that site. If at some time in the future, developer or property owner wishes to develop that, then come back and try to lift the conditions. But staff recommends to leave those conditions in place on that parcel there to the south. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for staff? Commissioner Highlander.
No, I'm going to add for the
Okay, never mind. Is the applicant present? Is there opposition present? Okay. I'll have the applicant come on up, and you have 7 minutes, and you'll have a 2-minute rebuttal.
I'm Dennis Bell with Production Tool Systems in Chattanooga, Tennessee, 1609 Macaulay Avenue, 37404. We're an industrial supply company consisting of about 6 employees. I can't ever see us getting more than 10 for what we are. We have approximately 1 to 4 trucks, freight trucks that come into our property once a week, so we're not really an impact on any of the roadway there. We've put together with Representative Dennis Clark and had a meeting with the county and with our people around us last Wednesday and explained what all we were looking at doing. We will have a fence around the property. We just don't want the opaque fence around, obviously.
All right, any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Highlander.
Thank you for meeting with the community. It is my county district, even though it's in the city limits, it's in my county district. And you met at Bartlett Baptist Church, I believe. And,
yes, sir.
And I did ask several of my community members to let me know the meeting since I had a conflict and could not come. But they felt like you would be a good neighbor, and they were very encouraged by it. And thank you for meeting with them. I wish more of our developers would be able to do that. Sometimes they're not able to, I understand, but the community felt very comfortable about it. Thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm sitting here reviewing the staff recommendations. Are you comfortable with what they're recommending in terms of the conditioning of those 2 lots, or are you all intending on placing this building somewhere that kind of straddles the property line between those two lots?
Mostly toward the south, which would be to the left of the warehouse. We're moving the building, that where it's sitting is just about where it's going to be at as to what we've measured out.
So that condition would not
Affect that
impede-
side
yeah,
over
okay.
there.
Right. Unless anybody has any other questions, I'm ready to make a motion. Have you reviewed the conditions that staff has recommended?
I've just scanned through them from what I just heard. I feel as though they'll meet our conditions.
I believe there would also be time between here and city council that if there was anything else that needed to be worked out, it could be, but I'll make a motion to approve as staff recommended.
There's opposition.
Oh, there is
Opposition still, Commissioner. Yeah.
Apologies. I'll hold.
All right, that's all for the applicant for now. Ma'am, you can come on up, and you have 9 minutes maximum. Please state your name and address to start.
Thank you. My name is Nancy Neal. I stay at 5099 Rotary Drive. My zip code is 37416. And as the developer stated, they did have a meeting. It was on last Wednesday. It stormed. There were trees down in the area, flooding in the area. So my request is to have another meeting. There were people that could not make it to the meeting, and the developer can let you know that it was flooded in the area where the church was. So my request, as I said, is to have another meeting scheduled so that the people in the area can, like the church, the residents, can attend the meeting and understand exactly what the conditions are and what the changes would be. And I'm not sure, because this is something I'm not used to, but would like to know if that's something that's possible. Question.
Can you restate your question, please, specifically?
To have another meeting, for the developer to have another meeting, and those that could not attend the meeting.
A community meeting,
A
you mean,
community
not defer
meeting.
this up.
No, not community. Like the meeting that the developer had on Wednesday at Volleyball Baptist Church.
That'll be
And
up to the
having it at-
developer. But they've heard you, and hopefully they'll answer that question in rebuttal.
I'm sorry. Oh, you said he could.
Yeah, the developer will have to answer that, and they've heard you, so hopefully they'll answer that question in rebuttal.
Okay, that's what I had.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, well, staff would be glad to meet with the opposition to talk about the conditions if she needs help with that.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Karen. If you want to come back up, Sabrina. For those of you who don't know you, could you say your name and address, please?
Yes, Sabrina Smedley, 9329 Houston Lane. I am the realtor representing Mr. Bell in this case. I personally reached out to Commissioner Highlander. We have included Councilman Dennis Clark throughout this entire process, communicated, shared information. I believe both of the representatives shared this with the community. We're not opposed to having another meeting, but I don't know what that will accomplish. I personally received a number of calls and answered all the questions, and I think that we were low in attendance because the community was okay with what we're proposing today. I think they were more concerned that this was an affordable housing case, which it is not. I don't know if Mr. Bell indicated, but his hours of operation are Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. He only employs 6 employees. So I really think if you look at the current zoning of this and what he's proposing, it is actually going to be positive for the community when you look at what could go there.
All right, any questions for opposition or the applicant? What's the will of the commission?
Staff recommendations.
Second.
Have a motion from Commissioner Lyle, second from Commissioner Highlander to approve the staff recommended alternative version. All those on the commission in favor, please say aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Brian, let's move to our last on this page, case 2026-0099.
Sure. This is a request to rezone from RN3 residential neighborhood zone to CC commercial corridor zone for 2102 Vance Avenue. I believe the applicant wishes to defer this case for 30 days. If that's the case, I think it's coming forward now to determine if they was to defer.
Sir, can you state your name for the record?
Yes, Mishari Al-Anazi.
Do you want to defer this case 30 days?
That is correct, yes. Thank you, Commissioners.
Second.
Have a motion from Lyle, second from Highlander to defer 30 days. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. We'll see you next month. Brian, let's move on to the mandatory referrals.
Yeah, this is case MR 2026-0101 for 1517 Old Ringgold Road. This is a request for the city of Chattanooga to surplus property through its city's contractor's realtor, resolving this existing issue with encroachment by the adjacent property owner to the north. There is no zoning history on this property. It was rezoned to RN2 in 2025. It's a vacant piece of property owned by the city, and you'll see here's where the scoop loader is. I think that's the property owned by the city. The adjacent property, this Jeep, I think their driveway encroaches on the city's property. So the city is surplusing that property to help this guy out with the encroachment. And so we reviewed this and recommend to approve the surplus of property.
Is there any opposition to this? What's the will of the commission?
Move to approve. Second.
Was that maybe on the motion? Okay, motion by maybe, second by Burrs. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Brian, let's go to mandatory referral 2026-102.
Sure. This is 900 block of Dodds Avenue, which is actually 2516 Vance Avenue. This is a right-of-way closure. You can see on the screen the light blue area where it's the applicant's requesting to ban the right-of-way. This site was equivalency mapped to IH, which is a heavy industrial zone in 2025. There's some alleys that run east to west. Those have been closed back in 2010, so this doesn't provide any connectivity. One interesting note that this alley is actually on an adjacent property owner. It came from Lot 3 in its entirety. We often tell people the alleys split equal distance between abutting property owners, but in this case, that alley, when it was created, or right-of-way, actually came out of Lot 3. So the person applying for this request is the owner of Lot 2 on the screen to the right. If they want to get a portion of that right-of-way, they'll have to purchase that from the adjacent property owner. But reviewing this, it doesn't provide any connectivity. There's some issues back in the day of when this was actually, if it ever was accepted by the city. Working with the city attorney's office, we feel that it's more important to get this cleaned up because it was on a deed from 1924. This alley shows up, and on this map on the right, you can see where it goes on Lot 3. So staff recommends to review the abandonment of this right-of-way.
All right, is there opposition present? Is the applicant present? What's the will of the commission?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Byrd and a second from Lyle. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Last case, Brian, 2026-103.
This is 5502 Dayton Boulevard. This is a request to rezone from RN2 to CNT to develop a former church into a small-scale mixed-use project featuring office, retail, and residential uses. It's roughly 1.3 acres in size. The applicant did not indicate the number of residential units proposed on site. There is some zoning history on this property. You may remember in 2025, last year, we had a zoning case on the same piece of property to rezone from RN2 to CMU1, which is a commercial mixed-use zone, which is a pretty intense zone. There was opposition here at Planning Commission. Ultimately, this case is withdrawn at City Council. So there is a special exceptions permit. You can see the crosshatch area just to the north and east of this site. To the west of this site is in the city of Red Bank. This is a vacant church. To the west, across Dayton Boulevard, is a mobile home or manufactured home park. There's a multi-unit residential. To the south is single unit and commercial office. And to the north and east is single unit residential. Here's a view of the site, this church. This is looking north of the single-family dwelling. It's a PUD. Another view of the single-family dwellings to the north of the site. This is to the, I guess this is east of the site. This is the manufactured home park. This is in Plan Chattanooga, which recommends mixed residential for this site. You can see it's highlighted on the screen. It's the mixed residential plan place type. Here's the site plan submitted with the request. Looks like they're tearing down the existing church and putting a new structure on site. The request for CNT is inconsistent with the mixed residential place type recommendation identified in Plan Chattanooga. The site's existing RN2 base zoning already permits single-unit attached dwellings, two-unit dwellings, and townhomes by right, and provides flexible housing opportunities that align with adopted plan. As I mentioned earlier, in 2025, we had a similar zoning case, but that was for CMU1. In 2025, staff recommended, and it's noted in that staff report, that CNT was more appropriate at this location. However, that was based on the 2005 Hickson North River Plan, which recommended medium business mix. In July of this year, the Plan Chattanooga was adopted by this body, which changed the policy recommendation from medium business mix to mixed residential. That's why staff is changing the recommendation from recommending CNT to all of a sudden today of denying this request. So staff recommends to deny this request, that the existing RN2 is more appropriate at this location.
Thank you, Brian. Is there any opposition present to this case, or did we hear from any opposition? Any opposition present? Nope.
I don't believe we received any opposition either.
Okay. Thank you very much. Joseph, come on up, name and address, and you've got 7 minutes.
Hi, Joseph Ingram. Welcome to the new building. Ingram Gore and Associates, 115 South Level in Chattanooga, Tennessee, in Miss Burr's district. So I was kind of shocked by the recommendation because obviously we moved ahead with this property knowing that they'd recommended CNT. I met with the councilman for the district, Mr. Henderson. And I asked, I said, well, where do you want to go? He said, we didn't have any opposition. I said, do you think you have a neighborhood meeting? He said, nobody came last time. So we didn't do any neighborhood meeting. And if you look at the property, it's RN2, that's a complicated zone because to build anything, you need frontage. And for me, so to do any kind of units, I'm fronting on Dayton Boulevard, and TDOT's not going to give me, even though the parking lot kind of spills, I'm not getting driveways on Dayton Boulevard. So I'd have to try to do some sort of internal, the property's not big enough to do any kind of public right of way within it. It just gets too tight. So I'm kind of stuck with maybe doing a drive and some sort of, so we were trying to get the property where we can move forward with the plan. And so I said, let's just ask for what the planning commission already recommended approving a year ago. And the owner's with me, and he bought the property kind of based on the fact that the CNT recommendation was out there. So that's where we're at. If you look at what's across, missing around us, we've got a lot of things that put it'd be a complicated site to try to put residential on with what's across the street and commercial around the corner. And the residential that's next door to us is the detention pond. I mean, so it'd be a tricky site. And then we just weren't able to save the church. The existing building, you guys all know the problem with buildings of that age. And so, yeah, it was better to do that. But I'm gonna let Mr. Lester, if you have anything else to add.
Thank you. Tom Lester, 3074 Reflecting Drive, Chattanooga, Tennessee, 37415. The character of Dayton Boulevard, as you all know, even if you go into Red Bank and start at Ashland Terrace and go out to 153, is a mixture of local businesses, services, HVAC, heating and air, some dental offices. There's a few restaurants. There are no national chains. It primarily serves local businesses who service Chattanooga. And then if you wanted to come out to Gad Road or stay within Hamilton County, that same character is there, and that's what our intent is, to stay with the character of Dayton Boulevard. Either side, there's commercial. There is a small pocket of residential about a quarter of a mile away, going out toward 153. But to either side of this property, there are at least, within a quarter of a mile, 7 properties with commercial zoning. So we're not, and this shows some of them, but even if you extend it up toward 153, you have to go up to Morgan Road. There are 7 commercial properties before you get to more of a little residential area. So again, the character of Dayton Boulevard is you have some townhomes, you have some commercial businesses, you have landscape companies, restaurants, you've got some nice looking property and some property that needs to be fixed up. Across the street is manufactured housing that is pretty sad. The CC diagonally across is a motel. So again, I think we're simply asking to stay within the character of the development, of the road.
Any questions from the commission for the applicant? Mr. Lyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It says mixed use for the application. What does that mean to y'all?
Again, the character of the street, it can be like a professional service, a dental office. It can be a landscape company, which there are several there, one just across the road. Heating and air, plumbing, again, local businesses that serve the local community. It is interesting that, again, dropping down to Red Bank from Ashland Terrace all the way out to 153, there are no national chains except for Dollar General. You don't have the McDonald's, you don't have the fast food. The intent is not fast food, not convenience store, not liquor store, but just some nice looking buildings where a contractor could have a business.
So when you say mixed use, you don't mean like ground floor retail with residential above it? Just
No,
a mix of various commercial uses potentially within
Yes,
one?
that area wouldn't support that. We did take a look at trying to create some affordable housing in the area, primarily due to the really sad manufactured home property across the street. And that makes it a challenge with what's across the street. But no high rise, single story, just again, businesses that serve the local area.
Okay, thanks. It's just a term that I was curious what you meant, but thanks.
Commissioner Maybe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for staff, if I may. So it appears that the applicant is showing some buffers. It looks like they're surrounded by residential zones. Are those buffers required by code, or are those something that would need to be put in as a condition if they wanted to be kept, if this ultimately did pass?
If this zone's approved, the landscape ordinance would require a landscape buffer anywhere you have commercial abutting residential.
Thank you, Mr.
I think it's a 20-foot buffer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Maybe. Councilwoman Burrs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just looking over the matrix for CNT, and I mean, everything pretty much looks in line with either residential or some sort of commercial, except for one that says temporary outdoor entertainment and/or sales event. So you don't intend to do any temporary outdoor entertainment or sales event on the property? Okay. Not that you wouldn't go against your word, but if we can put a condition on there that no temporary outdoor entertainment or sales event, then I would make a motion to approve with that condition.
Second.
Matt, was that you? So we have a motion by Councilwoman Burrs, a second by Commissioner Lyle, approving this, but with the additional condition of no outdoor temporary entertainment or sales event. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on this motion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Brian, that takes us to, we have one ordinance change for the city of Chattanooga and one for the city of Lakesite.
Sure. Karen, do you want to go through the? Okay, Karen's going to talk about the drive-through amendment.
Since I don't have a mic, I'll stand up and speak. So thank you for your deferral last month to give us a little more time to work on the drive-through amendment. Just as a reminder, we've had quite a few folks asking us about drive-throughs in both the CMU1 zone and the CC zone. It's kind of hard to tell if like multiple people ask the same question to different people, but it just triggered us to take a look at this. And so wanted to start with businesses with drive-throughs. Just, I think fast food restaurants is common. There's also coffee shop, beverage shops, banks, pharmacies, dry cleaners. Some of those have a different level of activity than others. So the new zoning ordinance had added a new definition and use for a drive-through facility as a standalone drive-through, as an accessory drive-through. And then we amended about a year and a half ago to allow a drive-through facility as a standalone. As you know, part of the amendments to the zoning ordinance and keeping it up to date is to reflect the changing market. So an example for that was to allow like a drive-through coffee shop where no one goes in and sits, you just drive through. And so that amendment was intended to do that. So both the drive-through facility standalone and the accessory and the primary use both have the same standards. So another item that we touched on in the development of the new zoning ordinance was drive-throughs. Where the intention was to try to reduce the number of conditions that are placed on zoning cases. Drive-throughs were one of the items that triggered quite a few conditions. Partly this was because they can be adjacent to residential, they stack, they access different types of streets. So standards went in partly to address that situation. And so both those are in there as both drive-throughs are principal or accessory use standards. And as of now, this amendment does propose making one change to that. And so we have two zones at play. One is the CC zone, which is the commercial corridor zone. This is the prior C2 convenience commercial zone. So this is the, you see it's intended to accommodate commercial development along corridors with a mix of uses. So the current zone for this, when we think about the old C2 zone, this new CC zone is in place on Brainerd Road, Lee Highway, Hickson Pike, 153, East Brainerd Road. It's kind of that older commercial corridor zone. So that's been reimagined. The new zoning ordinance requires drive-throughs as a permitted use by special exception. So we pulled the records for BOZA on their action on drive-throughs in the CC zone, and this was from last month. One was deferred at that time, but two were withdrawn and 5 special exceptions permit were approved. I think only one case had public comment. So another way we look at determining decision-making on a need to amendment is what is BOZA doing? And so this is looking back at BOZA. They were being approved or getting approved with very little action. So next slide. So we do not have staff, RPA staff and Public Works Transportation don't have any documented concerns about drive-throughs. Drive-through, the language in the zoning ordinance doesn't make a distinction about a kind of a 2-lane road or a 7-lane cross-section like Highway 153. And because they're not context sensitive, we're recommending that a change be made for outside the urban overlay zone only. So, as you know, about 20 years ago, we put the urban overlay zone into place to say something happens differently in our urban area. That's where we have our biggest mix of uses. That's where we have our most walkable, bikeable, transit-friendly, where we're better imagining how those uses work together. And so this is a recommendation to change drive-throughs as a special exceptions use to a permitted use outside the urban overlay zone. So that establishes drive-throughs as a by right use in the CC zone outside the urban overlay. And so there are going to be there's kind of two asterisks to this that we'll get to at the end. Next slide. The next was the CMU1. And so I think of CMU as kind of the one zone right below form-based code zone. So it's really kind of the most intense mixed-use zone prior to getting into that downtown form-based code. And so it's a traditional urban form development. It has CMU 1 and 2. We're just looking at CMU 1. CMU 1 property became CMU 1. It was old UGC property with no conditions and old C3 business zone property. So the former primarily UGC zone property. The former UGC zone allowed drive-throughs. That was a change. It had not allowed drive-throughs, then allowed drive-throughs. It did not allow small standalone drive-throughs or drive-up windows. They weren't allowed in the UGC, and we're still not recommending they be allowed. So we looked at a couple factors, and this was, again, thank you last month, giving us a little bit more time. Next slide. We looked at I think I mentioned context sensitivity. And so we're trying to make, what is the distinction here? We want to make, we understand that something's happening a little bit differently in the urban area. Streets function differently. And so we ended up looking at the urban principal arterials. This is one step below the interstate highways, and this is using the functional classification of street system, which is also found in Plan Chattanooga, as mentioned there too. And if you go back one, Brian, so urban arterials serve major activity centers. They have the highest traffic volume corridors and longest trip demands and carry a high proportion of total urban travel. So again, thinking about these roads operate a little bit differently. Next slide. And so in our urban area, these are all in the report that's in your packet. Most of the CMU zone, most of the CMU zoned property on principal arterials is along South Broad. There's a couple other pieces scattered throughout, Russell Boulevard, Riverfront Parkway, Dodds, and Barton, but most of the property is on South Broad because South Broad went through 2 zoning studies. North of the creek was zoned UGC, I think, in 2005, and then south of the creek followed that later. So that's where the bulk of the CMU 1 zone property is. Next slide. And so we also compared to Plan Chattanooga, just looking at the recommendations in Plan Chattanooga. Just keep moving perhaps. And then, so the recommendation from staff is a change to the CMU. So right now they're not permitted, and standalone drive-throughs are continued to not be permitted. So this would be a, where all it is, and this is in the urban overlay zone, that's where these CMUs are primarily found. That is not a use, because we're trying to mix kind of all those mix of uses, including balance with transit and biking and walkability and how we think about these corridors. So staff is recommending a change, adding drive-throughs as an accessory use by special exceptions by BOZA in the CMU 1 for if you abut a principal arterial. So there's like several clauses there. So if a property is zoned CMU 1 and doesn't have a condition prohibiting it, abuts a principal arterial, that property can seek a special exceptions permit for BOZA as an accessory use. So this is a pretty narrow window. It's opening the door, and this is primarily for is going to be most evident originally on South Broad. That's where the most CMU 1 properties are. That's a principal arterial, but this would be going to BOZA. I want to note that CMU 1 still has all the development standards that the urban mixed use property has on it. So not only do all the standards from that are in place for drive-throughs are still there, all the standards for that zone are still in place there. And we just made a note in our staff report that as rezonings occur, thinking about drive-throughs in these areas would be a consideration for a possible condition prohibiting it or approving it. Next slide. And so there's two other, in thinking about this and thinking about how drive-throughs work in our urban area, and I know this is not the most exciting of topics, but this, when we're thinking about building a city and we're thinking about walkability and safe walking and biking and transit and car drivers, this is kind of how we think about this under planning. We're also recommending two other amendments. No drive-through ingress or egress shall cross the Riverwalk or City Greenway Trail or connector. So when we're thinking about opening the door to drive-throughs, the intention is that they can't cross a Riverwalk, Greenway Trail or connector. And that is because we're thinking about when someone's using a sidewalk, they might have a little bit more understanding of navigating the kind of the transportation environment. The Riverwalk and City Greenways generally can operate more as recreational trails. And so the idea is to not have the egress there. And I'm just briefly checking to make sure that that has the last update. Yes, there is an update, and I'm sorry it's not on the slide, unless that's the only vehicular access to the property. And so if that's the only access, but otherwise there's no drive-through ingress or egress across the Riverwalk or City Greenway. And then also another item in talking with our Public Works transportation partners is changing stacking spaces, particularly when we think about an urban environment. We've got a tighter lot generally, and just stacking that can come from a drive-through, that stacking spaces begin at the first point of service. And that is a change to the standards for the drive-through. And so it comes with a recommendation to change the CC zone, the CMU1 zone, and then amending those drive-through standards with those changes. And I know that was a lot, so thank you for your time. Are there any questions?
Karen, I'll start, and then I'll ask the commission if they have any, just so I understand, to boil it down. So currently, drive-throughs as an accessory or standalone use, a primary use, are allowed by special exceptions permit in the CC.
That's correct.
And this would take them to, is CC everywhere in the city? It's a permit right now?
That's correct.
So this would take it to by right only outside the urban overlay.
That's correct.
Still be a special exceptions permit inside the urban
That's
overlay.
correct.
CMU 1, no change to CMU 2. CMU 1, it's not allowed now. It would be a special exceptions permit anywhere in the city.
It would be a special exceptions permit if you have frontage on a principal arterial.
Okay.
And it's when it's an accessory and not a standalone, correct?
Got it. Okay.
And then the two additional changes, which is no drive-through lane crossing a Riverwalk or like Riverwalk extension, think about like the Alton Park connector would be a good example. And then changing the stacking. So when the intention of that is when we think about drive-throughs is they're not stacking into the roadway, and that was felt to be a helpful change for that.
Anybody who's been going north on South Broad Street as they approach Dunkin' Donuts in the morning will know why that's important.
Brian has mentioned it 40,000 times.
Don't be.
Any questions from planning commissioners on this item? Is there anyone who wishes to be heard in the public on this item? Come on up. I'll give you 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Lee Helena. I live at 121 West 26th Street, which is in Southside Gardens. Recently moved there in June. I'm been in your situation before. I serve on the Form-Based Code Committee in this room for the last 2 years. My concern is that my pillow is 50 feet from UGC 1, and I wouldn't have a problem with a dry cleaner or a bank teller. But I sat in the back, and Brian Schultz's voice on that microphone was so loud, and that's 50 feet. So if he's taking, you're too loud with a microphone. So if a drive-through has a microphone and they're taking coffee orders at 6 a.m. in the morning, that's a problem. Or they're taking burger orders at 12:30 at night. That's a problem for a residential use. So I would just make a recommendation that if you're going to move forward with this, you add a condition that there be a larger than 50-foot buffer that's in there now, because as a recovering architect, I can tell you these wall panels are 4 feet wide, which means it's 32 feet to the glass, which means it's 50 feet to that back wall. That's not a lot of difference. I mean, I can hear a neighbor talking on a porch, and if you put a speaker at a drive-through, everybody's going to hear it. Now, there's $95 million worth of investment under construction right now next to CMU1. It's all residential. Southside Gardens, north of the creek. And this is going to affect all of those residents. So I would just ask that you please think about the residential use being next to these drive-through activities, because that could be a real problem. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Any questions from Planning Commission? Any action from Planning Commission?
I've got some.
Commissioner Lyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess sometimes I don't have the right words because I'm not very good at this, asking things in the most subtle way. Where is this coming from? I mean, I mean, I'm looking at I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we're talking about South Broad specifically as it pertains to this, and there's a number of drive-through oriented businesses that are already right in this area of South Broad. And to be honest, if I had $1 billion, I'd buy 10 D9 or D8 bulldozers and just have at it. I mean, because it's terrible when you get over that bridge and you're trying to come through that area, all the in and out and of stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I did a real quick count. I mean, there's 23 banks in downtown Chattanooga. None of them have, how many of them have a drive-through access, and they seem to be surviving okay. I mean, I think that when we look at where we are headed as a community and what this specific area of South Broad, the developing pattern, I mean, I think we got it right with UGC and with CMU1 and CMU2 specific to here. And so, I mean, I can go, I guess I can be convinced, like, yes, there could be some revisions to for some of the areas outside of the urban overlay. And yes, there's probably areas of town where a revision to CMU1 by having to painfully go through BOZA to get your approval, it probably makes some sense. But this specific set of blocks, I mean, I think I know where some of it's coming from, some of the questions, and maybe that question doesn't have to be answered, but it just seems, I mean, in addition to the Southside Gardens, I mean, I'm full disclosure, we've been working for several years on a project down here on the corner of 33rd and South Broad that is about $130 million investment of urban form. I don't see that this little corner is the right place to be doubling down on auto-oriented uses. I mean, we've got the cross section of Alton Park Connector and the Riverwalk, and I think if we're going to be moving in the direction of giving cars some much needed alone time for the sake of easing traffic, that's not the development pattern. So I mean, I don't know how to say. I'm not necessarily comfortable with the entirety of the revision, but some of the pieces I think I can go along with. But like I said, this specific area of South Broad and how it's kind of woven its way into a set of revisions makes me kind of have a little bit of a pause.
I'll go first on that one because this originated, honestly, with me and others. So we've had a lot of requests, Matt, from Commissioner Lyle, from multiple applicants who want to invest in the South Broad area, specifically on South Broad, and in some cases into properties that are closed, abandoned buildings that have a drive-through currently, but they could not tear it down and put a drive-through back. So there's already a vested right in some of these properties that we have essentially taken away by removing that as an option. The staff came up with what I think is an excellent compromise to allow it as a special exceptions permit in the CMU1 zone. So that would give BOZA the ability to be subjective about it if it's appropriate for the specific site, which could also they could also consider things like, is it too close to Lee's Pillow, or other things in the area near the location. But I do want to say we have been encouraging and asking people to live in this area for several years, and we have a significant investment in what everyone says is the finest ballpark in minor league baseball. It's not just me saying it. National sports writers. We have a significant investment down there, and the people that we're seeing move in down there, they want restaurants and they want dry cleaners and they want banks in their area. And some of those downtown banks do have a drive-through. Regions does. It's a tall building, but it incorporates a drive-through. I bank there and at Bank of America, and I'll tell you, Bank of America is gone. They're not in downtown anymore, and a lot of our restaurants are gone too. And we saw this as an opportunity to help businesses open, not close.
Mr. Chairman,
Karen?
I had 2 more points. So if we kind of roll back, and this is going back a little, originally UGC did not allow auto-oriented uses. And then the UGC zone was amended to allow auto-oriented uses. And then and so it had auto-oriented uses for a while. I guess, I don't know the date. I shouldn't guess on the date on that. It's when the raceway was built, prior to the raceway being built. And then the CMU zone went into place, did not allow it, and we're not opening the door to all auto-oriented uses. One thing that triggered, I guess, action by staff, or it's part of the consideration, was we had a rezoning request for then I guess it was proposed to be Scooter's Coffee. And the zone request was for the CR, kind of the regional commercial zone, which we're thinking about as more of a Hamilton Place, Northgate zone. In that mix of uses in that development form, staff was opposed to that rezoning because it was introducing that dissimilar zone for that particular use. It did get rezoned. And so a compromise, it's been back and forth on auto-oriented uses. We are talking a little bit more about South Broad because that's where the prevalence of the CMU 1 zone is. It is mentioned in the other places because that zone is used elsewhere. But so we have kind of gone back and forth on South Broad, and this doesn't open the door to all auto-oriented uses. It is for drive-throughs, but I understand your concern. I think when the action approval by council for that CR zone for that drive-through use was another factor in consideration, because I still think we want to keep that urban form that the CMU 1 zone does allow. But yeah, thank you.
I've got a few comments as well.
Thank you, Karen. Commissioner Byrd.
I want to echo everything that Commissioner Lyle said, and then also add a few points. I guess my primary confusion here is that we just finished Plan Chattanooga and voted on it and designated Broad Street as a transit-oriented corridor. If you look at the Plan Chattanooga map, every single lot from probably 37th up to the interstate is designated as transit-oriented development. And I cannot think of hardly anything that is less transit-oriented than a drive-through. The whole goal is to get people onto transit, which does not usually stop at a drive-through. If I ask my bus driver to stop at the drive-through, I think he's going to laugh at me. I'll go try. Yeah. I don't know if the buses can fit through the drive-through either. And so we're having these two directly competing designations. And I'm just very confused at what direction Broad Street is supposed to be going. To Commissioner Anderson's point, we're asking for people to invest in Broad Street, and they already are. And there's a lot of investment that is happening that is urban. And I think that trend is only going to continue, especially with the success of the stadium. And then, the apparent success of Southside Gardens as well. It's a very urban development form. We're looking at people who are walking to the nearest restaurant, who are biking to the park, who are riding down the Greenway to get to Erlanger Stadium. We can't pull this neighborhood in two directions, or we risk really putting it back into the same identity crisis that gave us the problems with UGC in the first place. the whole problem with UGC was that it started as this kind of urban general commercial. Okay, we have a very specific idea of what this is and what it means. And then it got kind of Frankensteined into this weird zone where we just put everything with a bunch of conditions on it so that we could make projects work. And sometimes, you want to do what you can to make a project work because we need development in Chattanooga. But we just finished rezoning a couple years ago. We just finished Plan Chattanooga a couple months ago. Let's let the plan work for a little while before we start saying we need drive-throughs on Broad Street. I just don't think it makes any sense given the investment that is already happening in the other direction. I'll leave it at that. I guess I'll say I am supportive of the change to CC. I think that makes sense. But this change to CMU just baffles me.
Mr. Chair, may I ask if, and thank you for the comments, and we've kind of struggled back and forth. South Broad's a bit of an outlier because of its use and its way it's designed. So appreciate the feedback. Is there support for the Greenway language and then the stacking language? And if so, Mr. Chair, depending on how you would like us to proceed, we could move forward with certain components that have support. And if we need to rethink or regroup or come up with some additional discussions, we can do that as a staff update at the next meeting. However you advise.
Okay. I'm going to take that question in a different direction slightly. I like these amended drive-through standards, but one thing that I'm thinking is that assuming we take on the changes to CC, there is already a path to a drive-through anywhere. They can rezone it to CC and then they can follow
Not on this
these
site.
standards could be applied to a site within the urban overlay.
It would still be a special
It
exceptions
would still be a
permit in the
special
urban
acceptance.
overlay?
Exactly. Yes. So you would, rather than saying drive-throughs are a use in CMU, where I don't think they make any sense with the urban designation, the mixed use designation of a CMU zone doesn't really lend itself to a drive-through. A CC zone does. If somebody really wants a drive-through that bad, they can fight the political battle to rezone a site on Broad Street to CC and then also go get their special exceptions permit to get that drive-through. There is still a path, but it makes, I almost caught myself there. It makes really sure that that is what we want for that corridor. Rather than shortening that deliberation process to make it as streamlined as possible, it says, is this really what we want? Do we really want to rezone this lot to CC? And then do we really want to go get that special exceptions permit?
Here.
So that's, I think, a compromise. I think if we adopt the CC language and then adopt these drive-through standards for drive-throughs with it, because I think these standards are great and they make sense for any drive-through, honestly, anywhere, but especially in the urban overlay zone. So that's the compromise I'll offer.
Brian, we amended the drive-through language after the South Broad rezoning for the drive-through commercial for the CR zone. I believe that was a trigger to taking another look at amending that to add the distinctions and spend a little bit more time on drive-throughs after that zone. So that would be a possibility someone could rezone to CC now with a special exceptions permit.
Karen, do we, I'll call on Commissioner maybe next. Karen, do we have, sorry, I just forgot what my question was because I looked at something else. Commissioner, maybe. I'll hold my question.
So there's obviously a lot here. So I'm going to make sure if you can kind of help dumb it down for me, I would appreciate it. So my understanding is the proposal you're making, it would not give anybody in CMU by right the ability to put in a drive-through. Is that accurate? It would still have to go through a process that included going through BOZA?
That's correct.
Okay. So there would still be a chance for public input and a appointed body to deny that request from a property owner if it's found to not be best for the community. Is that accurate?
There would be the public hearing at BOZA, yes.
Okay. I know, so I appreciate Mr. Lyles and Mr. Bird's comments there. I almost feel like we're similarly talking about the same thing, as where we want to try to find a balance here. And from what I'm understanding, what I'm hearing from staff, I think they have presented something that does have it does kind of straddle the line there of trying to get us more walkable corridors, but also allows in specific cases that get approval a chance for us not to miss out on development and businesses that may be beneficial to the community. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Mabee. And my question was, is there existing CC in the area of South Broad now? Or would that be another impediment to getting approved for CC?
There is not. Most of everything on South Broad is zoned CMU. There's some industrial. I don't think there's any or very limited CC through there.
There's some TRN3, but I don't think there's any. Then, of course, you got what the ball field is. That's all form-based code.
I mean, Mr. Chair, there's some alternatives. I don't know if you would want to discuss them here, but if there was willingness to move the CC zone forward, we could discuss that. We could discuss some alternatives that we use elsewhere in the new zoning ordinance where a use was no longer permitted, but it allowed uses that had been in place to be reestablished. And that's something that we could discuss next month if you'd like. Since your example was drive-through uses that maybe were in place and now no longer allowed, we have previously said if you were zoned that use and prior to the zoning ordinance were able to, you can continue to do that. That would be an option we could look at too. There's one in place that can be reestablished, but a new one could not come in.
That's my biggest concern probably because, Karen, when we went through the equivalency mapping and the zoning code update and we spent literal years on this, we assured people they wouldn't lose entitlements. And we meant that, and that's mostly been true. But I think this is one that kind of slipped through the cracks where, there's a handful of closed buildings right now in the South Broad area and we can think of the businesses, people in the room know what they are, that were existing with a drive-through, and now they're just empty buildings because for whatever reason the business closed, and now there's more customers down there, but rebuilding the drive-through if you tear it down wouldn't be allowed under the current rules.
Is there any zone where we would allow that? Like if you had a duplex 20 years ago and then you tore it down and it was rezoned R1, would you be allowed to build a duplex?
Well, entitlements are different usually on commercial and industrial properties, and I don't think anybody's talking about 20 years ago. I'm talking about 2.
We did. We have not made the change in a while. Originally, we had some uses that were permitted in the prior zone, but were not included. And so the land use table has a note that if you were zoned prior to, and you had a use prior to that zoning date, the change over the zoning, that you can keep that use. And so that could be if you were zone UGC and, if the conditions didn't permit it, but that is a tool we have used to try to address the transition previously instead of reestablishing it for all CMU1.
Yeah, I think when thinking about that, it's a key difference is the differences between a property owner rezoning their property by choice and us rezoning the entire city to these new zones through the equivalency mapping process.
So then, so based on also Commissioner Bird's comment, there would be, on that scenario, there would be 2 options. One is that I have a drive-through window sitting here that's not been in use, but I had that use legally prior to the adoption of the new zoning ordinance, and the land use table would say, okay, then in that case you can reestablish it. Or 2, you could be zone CMU1 and don't have that. You never had a drive-through window and you would have to rezone based on the example given. I still think that we would want to, if at all possible, get an urban form for that rezoning, and that might come across in conditions. But yes, that would allow 2 options then.
My hope is that we'll create a path to this because economic development in the area is affected by our ability to pass this or not, and city council's ability to ultimately pass it or not. I think staff has come up with a very workable compromise that considered a lot of different opinions. But I will open the floor to whatever motion anybody wants to make on this item. I do think we need to move on to the next item.
Yep, I agree. I appreciate the amount of time that we've spent having this conversation. I mean, I think especially in an area where there's the amount of developable property is so small, we get generational chances at getting it right, because at the point that we do something, it becomes instantaneously economically unfeasible to do anything else. And so I think exercising an abundance of caution to make sure that what we do for the next cycle, for the next generation of our community, especially as we continue to see vehicle pressure, that is such an important thoroughfare for both the citizens of North Georgia, as well as Lookout Valley, as well as Lookout Mountain and St. Elmo and Alton Park. There are a lot of neighborhoods that confluence there. And I think just taking the extra time, sorry, apologies for bogging down the meeting, but I take very seriously the work, and I know that everybody up here does. So everybody who's listening at home and is here patiently waiting for the next round of stuff, thank you for that. But we just want to make sure that the set of underlying conditions that we set forth for that economic development activity to occur do that in the best way possible for our community. So thank you all for the conversation.
Chairman, can I make one quick point? I'll be quick. I agree with a lot of what you said. The only thing I would just differ with is that Karen talks a little bit about existing buildings that have existing drive-throughs that have been rezoned, but they're vacant. To me, it makes a lot of sense to have a way for at least those, business owners to be able to use the drive-through that exists. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
If that's the strict limitation we're talking about, I agree with you there.
And then I would just say too that to Commissioner Lyle's point, we may want it to be a transit-oriented corridor, but it doesn't mean that the public will accept that. I think some people accept that, especially people that live right there. But to Commissioner Lyle's point, it's a major thoroughfare. Tons and tons of people drive through there every day. And I would really hate to miss out on opportunities to have more amenities in the area, more options for lunch spots or coffee spots, or just any kind of thing that makes that area more vibrant and more activated. And as you've seen, some of the little coffee shops pop up. I think there's a little like a food truck that does coffee on one of the corners. Who knows? Maybe they want to grow their business one day and they want the full scale drive-through. I mean, to me, all those things are good for the area, and so I think personally I would support anything that allows good businesses to happen in that area.
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree with the sentiment, but respectfully, I think I come at it from about 180 degrees the opposite, because I think that the drive-through business is antithetical to what is the fabric of the community. It encourages people to not stay, access a thing, and then leave, which while it helps an individual business, I mean, I think as we grow up as a community, I mean, we're entering into sort of the next. And I think a lot of people in our community, both in the urban area as well as the rural area, are looking around and asking, what is next? Like, what is on the horizon for us? And I think strategic placemaking, especially in areas where we have already invested a lot of infrastructure, that creating those opportunities for less vehicle trips, and it's not just for people who live in those areas. And as I'm talking, my brain swirls through lots and lots and lots of different examples, both in our own community, across our state, across our country, where people are asking the same question. But I think if you allow the people who are not intending on being in that area to more easily move through. But simultaneously, you are given the opportunity for the people who want to explore that area, places to get out of their car and discover various things that they might not have intended even on discovering. I think that's what well executed placemaking does. You know, when you come downtown to go to the aquarium, you might not have anticipated going to Burger Republic or Mellow Mushroom, but you may in fact end up finding a restaurant you'd never even heard of. And I think that's what the difference between that auto-oriented use and actual sort of urban fabric does. And I think this specific part of town, there have been a lot of community voices. I mean, Publix coming into it was a huge, long, very cautiously entered into conversation that ended with a form that the developer didn't necessarily want on the front end, but we ended up with as a community because of the rise of those voices. And you know, I mean, I know we need to move on from this, but there are times where building forms are no longer what the community needs in that area. I mean, I think a lot about how the development pattern of kind of West End Nashville went. I can remember when the McDonald's was down there, you know, and it just always seemed really weird. But I think we are in a cycle where some of these things hopefully will change form. And it just feels like that particular area of town is one that the past few plans that we have done as a community have outlined something, and I don't think it's what we're talking about here, but that something also encourages community engagement. It encourages small business, local business. It doesn't encourage kind of chains with auto-oriented uses. And it's, but I'm just one little boat.
I'm personally happy that there's opportunities for both down there. I mean, I'm glad there's a Dunkin' Donuts down there. We've used that quite a bit. So, I mean, my opinion is we can have both. I don't see why we can't have both.
I think the uses are actually opposed to one another. Like, I don't think you can have both in the long run. In the short run, obviously things coexist, but I think development patterns tend one way or another. And you either get a commercial corridor with drive-throughs that, you know, Gun Barrel would be a good example. You either get Gun Barrel or you get North Broad Street. You get downtown Market Street. You get West End and Nashville. In the long run, a corridor is going to converge around one idea or another. And we've already set ourselves down this path to say this is what this corridor should look like. And I think we should continue with that process and see where it leads us.
I see plenty of people walking up to the walk-up window at Dunkin' Donuts, and I see plenty of people parking and walking there at the Publix. So I respect your opinion, but to me, especially right there through the main corridor where a lot of people are headed home every afternoon, it's really nice to have a little drive-through that you can stop through if you're late getting home at night.
Well, so Matt, I always appreciate your perspective, and Commissioner Byrd, I think you guys bring a really unique architectural view to these things. So I also was just confused at why this was coming up. I appreciate the form of what we're trying to do in that Broad Street corridor, and I agree. I think it's very difficult to have both, you know, for it to be convenient and walkable, livable. I don't want a speaker next to my bed. So I think I have a lot of sympathy for that. I just don't understand where this is coming from. And if it's some interest, I think the better interests are for the form of development that we've kind of already set forth. So I think I would be against wherever this is trying to go at the moment. I may be convinced otherwise, but It just doesn't seem like, it seems like we've started down one path and want to back up because it's not functional for the moment, but we've got a good vision for where it should go.
Commissioner Byrd, hearing everyone's comments, I think your narrow path, but still an existent path, is probably the one that would have the most support in this room. If you wanted to make a motion, I suspect that you'd find enough votes to pass it.
I'm mostly just trying to figure out if I can make that motion and capture everything that I was trying to capture. Let's see. Bear with me. All right, I make a motion to approve staff recommendations for the CC Commercial Corridor Zone. To deny the recommendations for the CMU 1 zone, and to approve the amended drive-through standards for drive-throughs within the urban overlay rather than CMU 1. I believe that captures everything.
Karen, would that work for all the goals?
I think the amended drive-through standards were really for everywhere.
That's great. Yes.
So that would under your motion then, Commissioner Byrd, CMU 1, it would not be allowed in any way. CC would be by right outside the urban overlay, and this would give it a path to CC with a special exceptions permit in the urban overlay that would still exist. Is that your intention?
That's my intent. Yeah. And then these,
and then, yeah, no crossing the greenway as well.
The amended drive-through standards would
Riverwalk.
apply everywhere. And I think that's great.
Second.
I have a motion that's been properly seconded, Byrd and Lyle. Mr. Maybe.
I'm sorry to keep this going. I apologize here. And I'll make sure I understand Commissioner Byrd's motion. I know that there had been some discussion about if there was an existing business that had a drive-through that may have been closed down to be able to operate in that same building. Is that your intention to make possible under this motion?
Perhaps you could offer that as an amendment and see if it's friendly.
I guess I'll start by asking, was that intended to be part of your?
I wasn't sure that was in the scope of this discussion really, but I like the idea. Like, I get what we're going for. There's just a specific example. There's that Popeyes right there that's been closed for years. And if somebody turned that back into a drive-through, fine. The building's already there. Like that's fine. I just don't know for the scope of this argument, like, can we get that language right in this motion? I would almost rather that be a separate motion.
That thank you for that thought, and I agree. We want to make sure we nail that the verbiage of that. Is that, Mr. Chairman? Do you think it'd be appropriate to ask staff to come back with language next month that we could possibly amend this if we wanted to?
I think that's appropriate. If this current motion that's on the floor passes, I think that would be an appropriate part two, next step for the, I know grandfather is not the legal term, but the grandfathered in lots that already had an existing drive-through in the area. Sorry, go ahead, Karen.
Yes, Mr. Chair, on the use matrix, permitted uses, a double asterisk indicates that the use is a permitted use in the zone if zoned prior to December 18th, 2024. And that's how we were bringing uses that went from permitted to prohibited back online. And so a primary drive-through or accessory could come back online that way, and we could come back next month if you would like with that.
Yes, please. That's great. Councilwoman Burrs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to clarify one thing for Lee's comment. Does this protect him if someone requests a rezone in the CC from CMU to CC to put a drive-through? How does that protect any residential space within 50 feet?
Yes, we will be letting people know that have that do want to get rezoned, that they'll rezone to CC. There's current language in the, and I have to pull it up if it's in it's in your packet materials. The existing standard in the drive-through, and remember we said the drive-through language is not context sensitive, so it could be the 5-lane of Highway 153 or kind of the, one of the other areas. Right now it says that no drive-through component such as drive-up windows, lanes, or order boxes is allowed within 50 feet of a residential use, excluding mixed-use developments measured from the residential lot line to the closest point of a drive-through window. So I think 50 feet from a residential use, that might get the street or the right-of-way of the street, but not much more. And I think that Mr. Houghton was saying that perhaps 100 feet in an urban area would make perhaps more sense.
So I guess, I don't know if this is for staff or for the chair, does that amendment come today, or do we want to move that to next month as well?
You could move to amend the motion, or we could hold this for next month when we have the new standards, which is probably better.
So in the urban overlay, 100 feet versus 50?
So if it is determined, we are not in a rush. This was just something that had a lot of discussion. We were getting a lot of requests from folks to look at. So we are not in a rush. So if it is determined to defer, we would keep everything except the CMU1. We would look at that as adding an asterisk to the land use table. If you had that permitted use for a drive-through previously, you could still have it. You would still have to meet the standards. And we could look at the 100 feet from a residential zone for an urban area, understanding that things are a little bit tighter there with the reduced setbacks.
Thank you, Councilwoman. There is a motion on the floor. If we deal with this today, we can still come back next month with additional language on the two things that we talked about, so the two things don't have to be connected. We do have a motion on the floor for the compromise from Commissioner Byrd. I don't see any other comments and hope there are not any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, commissioners, very much for your hard work on that. The motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We have one, thank you, and we have one ordinance amendment from Lakeside that I'm willing to bet is less complicated.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yes, it should be. We got this request from the City of Lakeside City Manager. She could not be here today to talk about this, but all this is really doing is adding some new definitions for fueling station, marina fueling station, and a service station, and adding some standards for vape shops. So she couldn't be here to answer any questions, but we recommend approval of this amendment.
Any questions from commissioners for staff?
Move to approve. Second.
Have a motion that's been properly seconded. I believe that was Lyle and Highlander. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. That takes us to Regional Planning Agency staff updates, if you have any.
No updates.
All right, thank you very much, City of Chattanooga RPA staff. We will take a brief recess. It is 3:48. We will begin the county cases at 4:00 p.m. So we'll take a 12-minute recess. Restrooms are through these back doors and to two lefts around the corner. We'll see you at 4:00.
glad they, did the coffee pot leak on you too? I took the lid off and it's still leaked. Yeah. Are you as good a ball player as your dad was? Your dad was a player, buddy. Yeah. Tyler, if you guys ready, you need another Crank it up and go. So we're gonna start with new business first, right? Yeah. Okay. Pardon me.
We're back from recess. If I could have everybody kind of take their seats and settle down a little bit, we're going to try and get out of here as quickly as possible. I don't see near as many people in the audience, so I bet it's going to go a little faster than the city portion. Before we go into the county business, I want to thank my colleagues for such an honestly productive and engaging debate on the last issue that probably was like watching paint dry for a lot of the people who were here. But a lot of important debate goes into these decisions because they affect our community for many years to come. So Tyler, we will move into new business, subdivision, plats, and variances for unincorporated county.
All right, thank you. First case is going to be 2631. This is going to be at 6084 Arbery Way. This is a final plat for the Cambridge Square Townhomes Planned Unit Development. This is a view of the final plat, and we are recommending to approve with the conditions shown on the screen.
We have a recommendation to approve with conditions. Is the applicant present?
We'd like to add 6 and we'd like to add drive-throughs, please.
Come on.
Don't start that.
That's pretty good, Mike. Are you good with the 5 on the screen?
We are good with 5.
Thank you, Mr. Price.
Move to approve.
Have a motion that's been properly seconded. Sounds like, was that maybe?
It's made.
Lyle and Burrs for the, okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Next case.
Our next case is 2632. This is going to be at 8209 Bell Mill Road, the final plat for Nature's Cove subdivision, Phase 3. This is the plat. And we have 11 conditions that we would recommend approval on based on.
Is the applicant present? Of course. All right. Is there any opposition present?
Move to approve with
Second.
conditions.
I have a motion from Burrs, second from Byrd to approve with conditions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Next case.
Our next case is going to be 2633 at 2414 Udois Ringgold Road. This is a preliminary plat for Bradbury Place Planned Unit Development. Here is sheet 1 of the plat. This is sheet 2 of the plat. And we have quite a few recommendations for our approval. Most of them are minor notes that needed to be added.
Is the applicant present? Of course. Are you good with these conditions?
We are.
What's the recommendation from council? From commission.
Move to approve with conditions.
Second.
Have a motion from Burrs and a second from Maybe. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Let's move to the next case.
So our next case is 2635 at 1200 733 Jones Gap Road. This is a preliminary plat for Cumberland Cove subdivision. This is sheet 1 of the entire site. This is sheet 2 zoomed in. Sheet 3 zoomed in. Sheet 4. And sheet 5 has all the charts and tables. We have 12 recommendations for our approval, and most of these are minor notes.
Is the applicant present? Okay, Mr. Floyd is here. So Tyler, I'm going to say that on the agenda, we have a staff recommendation. to
Yes,
deny-
I'm sorry. That I should have stated that. At the time, we recommended denial when this was submitted because they did not have approval through groundwater protection, and that has since changed. since the agenda was submitted.
Okay, so we now have a recommendation to approve with conditions. What's the will of the commission? Mr. Maybe.
Have we asked the applicant about the conditions?
Thought I had done that. I'm sorry. Is the applicant present? Oh, Jay, you're here, but are you good with the conditions?
Yes.
Okay.
Move to approve staff recommendation.
Motion from Maybe, second from Johnson to approve the staff recommendation of approve with conditions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman, I
Chairman.
recuse.
May I make a request?
We had a recusal from Byrd and Commissioner Highlander. Yes.
If we could you put the county commission district on here the next time?
Yes, sir.
Did I overlook it? Is it on here and I missed it?
I got it on the agenda, but I don't know if I put it on the staff report.
Okay, thank you.
It's not on my agenda.
It's on the zonings. It's not
Oh,
on
okay.
the subdivisions. I will get those put on
Okay.
in the future.
I know where mine are.
No, I understand. I got it.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner, you'll see that it is on the rezones and you do not have any District 9 appearances this month. All right, I believe we have a motion on the floor and Nathan recused himself.
From 35, and I'm also from 34 and 28 upcoming.
From 34, 35, and the one we're about to hear. So
That's
we
right.
have one final plat left. Tyler, take us through 26, 28.
2634.
I'm sorry, because the numbers,
Yeah.
that's what got me. I apologize. I'm trying to move too fast. 34 is the next case. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So this is a preliminary plat for Wellington subdivision on Harris Haven Drive. I'm sorry, Long Point. I don't know why that says Wellington. This is the overall site. This is sheet 1, sheet 2. And we formally, when we made the agenda, recommended denial. That has changed since the agenda was put in due to the amount of conditions that were required for us to recommend approval, and they have gotten it down from, I think it was 30 or 40 down to 5, and we would now recommend to approve with the current conditions.
Mr. Floyd, are you good with the conditions?
We are, yes.
What's the will of the commission? I have a motion from Burrs and a second from Lyle to approve with conditions. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Byrd recuses. Now we'll go to 26, 28.
Okay, case 2628. This is old business and the final plat for Eagles Crest subdivision on Harris Haven Drive. This is the same subdivision that we just saw as a preliminary. The name is different on the final that they submitted. This is the overview of the site, Site 1, Site 2, and these are the conditions on the final plat that we would recommend to approve on should these be met. And this, yes.
Can you explain why this is contingent on the previous case 34 passing?
Sure. So this case came forward last month and we deferred it because it added density to the previous preliminary plat. So the case before this was the new preliminary plat reflecting those changes that they wanted to see on this final.
Tyler, thank you for putting these in the order that made sense for the agenda today, because I know it was complicated. We appreciate it. Is the applicant present? Are you good with the conditions?
Yes.
What's the will of the commission?
Move to approve with conditions.
Before we take the motion, is there any opposition present on this one? Okay. I have a motion from Councilwoman Burrs and a second from Maybe to approve with conditions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. So now we'll move on to resolutions and amendments.
Yes, sir. We have a plan amendment that will impact the address of 4390 University Drive. This is a resolution to amend the White Oak Mountain Area 12 plan, a component of Plan Hamilton, by changing the place type designation from an approximate 0.7 acre parcel on 4390 University Drive as part in Hamilton County, Tennessee, from suburban residential to a maker district. And this is to allow an existing business that it's a staffing error. The place type put them out of business. Well, not out of business, but out of conformance. And this is to bring them into conformance.
Is there any opposition present on this item? Okay. Any questions from commissioners or a motion?
Move to approve.
I'll second that. I have a quick question too.
Got a motion from Byrd, second from Maybe. Commissioner Maybe, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I could ask a question to staff, in terms of process now, how do these amendments go? Will they go to county commission for their next meeting, or will it be heard when they hear that zoning case? How will that work?
So in this case, they'll hear the zoning case directly after the planning amendment because they're going to be heard here at the same time. But typically they'll move from here and be put on the next available county commission meeting.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion on the floor to approve this. What's the will of commission? If you are in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The plan amendment passes. Let's move to old business under rezoning, closures, and abandonment, please.
So our old business rezoning case is going to be case 78 at 4390 University Drive. The applicant is requesting a rezoning from the A1 agricultural district to a C2 local business commercial district with conditions for a proposed use of an auto repair shop. There is no recent zoning history for this site or in the direct release surrounding areas. This is a satellite view of the area. You've got a manufactured home to the north, single unit residential to the northeast. To the southeast, you have agricultural single unit districts, and then to the west, you have single unit residential districts. This is the view of the site. This is looking at the road and the side of the site. This is north. Examples of structures to the west. This lies now, this is irrelevant now, it's in the Maker District. I updated it. The Maker District is for non-noxious, non-nuisance light manufacturing, assembly, distribution, small workshop industries such as woodworking shops, bakeries, or other low-impact production, studios, breweries, contractors' offices, live work, multi-unit residential retail offices, restaurants, vehicle repair, gas stations, outdoor storage yards, and self-storage facilities. Of course, this one would now be Maker District. This is a site plan by the applicant. And we recommend to approve with the conditions 1 through 4 on the bottom set of the slide. And these were conditions provided by the applicant.
I see the applicants back there. We've grown accustomed to you this third month now in a row. Is there any opposition to this case present? Are you good with the conditions? Applicant, are you good with the conditions that are proposed? Okay, I've got an applicant who's good with the conditions. We have no opposition present. What's the will of the commission? Wait.
I believe he has something to say.
Okay, so I've got a motion from Lyle, second from Highlander to approve with conditions before we take the vote. Come on up, sir, and you can speak to the commission.
We put on there vehicle sales, low volume vehicle sales. Is that something that we're able to do with this amendment?
Not with condition 2.
I see. So it's saying limited or none at all are allowed.
Well, it says any vehicle sales or display shall remain incidental and limited in scale, consistent with historic. I like the way you worded that. I guess it does make it possible every now and then. It couldn't be like a
I think it's
sales
supposed to
lot.
read as long as they're acting in the way they previously have been acting, they continue, as long as it's not an upscale in production or sales.
And that's, we don't even have a frontage. We don't display cars. We just have, every once in a while, someone comes in with a car that's broken. They don't want to fix it. We buy it, we fix it and sell it on Facebook Market. We don't have a display lot. We don't have cars lined up for sale. It's just occasionally there is cars that we do sell, and we just want to be sure that's something we're able
Would
to
it
do.
be,
Mr. Janeway, is that how it would be ruled by the administration at the county that they could do this in an incidental way?
So this is for, I think C2 is what, yeah, C2.
I don't know off the top of my head if that's allowed in C2. I have to look. We can look, but.
Mr. Chairman, it does say with the condition, vehicle sales remain incidental. It's in the condition.
If it's in the condition, I guess we can pass it. I guess the question is more, as long as the county is fine with the word incidental and the phrase limited in scale, I think this commission is fine with it. I just want to make sure it captures what you guys need.
Mr. Chairman, I would say also if it's allowed in the underlying zone as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm checking real quick.
Would it be more appropriate to just say no vehicle displays?
Which we have a fence around it anyways. We're not displaying anything.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Highlander.
I think the connotation of incidental would be not advertising, not planning, but as it comes in, he could sell. So the connotation to me of incidental would be met the way he has it planned.
I feel like this is opening up a big can of worms because if I sell a car on Facebook Marketplace and I live in an R1 district, am I in violation of the zoning code? Because I've definitely done that before. Is this something we even want to dive into? I think this kind of solves itself if it's operating in the way that he says it's operating.
Mr. Janeway, can you shed some light on it for us?
Yeah, so C2 does allow by right automobile service stations, automobile display rooms, parking lots, storage lots, and used car lots. So it would be allowed in base zoning. We just need to make sure we get the condition correct.
If your understanding of this is the same as mine, I think this meets the requirement. And I think we have a motion on the table. We have a motion on the floor, rather, to approve with these conditions. Is there any more discussion on this? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Congrats. We've got one more case under new business. Can we go to that one, please?
Sure. So our next case is 26-2. This is going to be at 9627 Miller Country Road. This is a request for a single-wide manufactured home. This is the current zoning around it. This is a zoomed-out version so you can better reflect the R2A corridor there and the R5s in the surrounding areas. This is a little bit of the zoning history. There's none for the site specific. 9805 Reynolds Road was rezoned to an R5 in 1978. 9774 Reynolds Road in 1984 was rezoned from A1 to R5. 1601 Poe Road in 2003 got an application for a single-wide manufactured home. At 1421 Poe Road in 1987, it was rezoned from A1 to R5. And all of these are within half a mile of the site. This is an aerial photo of the site. This is the topography. This is what the current site currently looks like. This is the road that it's on. This is what you can see from the northern angle. This is a home to the east. This is what you see to the south. And this is a home to the west. It is in the countryside residential place type, which is primary uses is single unit detached farming activities and accessory buildings such as barns, greenhouses, and also manufactured homes. This is a zoomed in color map of Plan Hamilton and the place types. As you can see, most of it is all countryside residential. Our request or our recommendation is to approve.
So they meet all the permit requirements.
Yes.
Okay. Are you the applicant, ma'am? Please state your name. Well, let's see. Is there any opposition present for this? We have a
Second.
have a motion to approve from Lyle, second from Burrs to approve. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Congratulations on your new home. That is the end of all of our cases for the day, folks. So do we have any staff updates from county staff?
So yeah, we have a announcement. We've published 4 new plat checklists to our website to guide development for the preliminary, final, corrective or revised and staff level subdivision plats. These requirements are contained in the preliminary, final, and corrective revised checklist are taken directly from the Hamilton County Subdivision Regulations, Article 5. Moving forward, the planning department will recommend denial on any case in which 11 or more checklist items remain unaddressed after an updated plat has been submitted for review. The standard is intended to promote consistency and compliance, timely processing. Additionally, while we're going to start going by these strictly, we also understand that there are things in this checklist that technology has made outdated, and there's several other things that are required by it that other departments are not wanting to see anymore. So we are going to start a project to amend Article 5 to get those checklists to be more efficient for both staff, developers, and the public.
That's excellent. Thank you very much for all of this. I'm sure it'll be helpful. Any questions for staff on those updates? All right. Do we have any public comment on non-agenda items? Seeing none, and the lights are starting to go out. Barry Payne's not here today. What are we going to do?
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn from Maybe and a second from Lyle, we'll say. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The I'll see you later, Jeff. Yes, sir. You too. Thank you.